The time has finally arrived. Mike Testa, Xavier Aguiar, the Survivor 50 reaction video is here. What a wild episode one. Before we get in, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those fun things across socials. We're popping off on TikTok right now. The Instagram's finally getting some traction. YouTube, of course, is our home. Regardless, we are excited to be here. 2/3 of the gurus. Mike, before we get into the nitty gritty, because we're going to start pretty early today with that, I just want to hear your reaction in one word of this episode.
Exciting. I was so pumped for this premiere. It's going to be hard for it to live up to it, but X, and we do these, we talk about these live every week. I don't usually rewatch episodes when I'm watching an episode live. Like every Wednesday we'll watch, and then I'll, like a normal person, watch every Wednesday. This is going to be an episode I come back to before next week. I had so much fun. It was an enjoyable episode because all of our favorite people were on screen again for the first time in what felt like a decade. And for some people, it literally was a decade plus. So I was just excited, and it was enjoyable, and it was just fun.
I'm going to make a proclamation right now. There is an argument that this is the best premiere episode in the history of Survivor. There are some good candidates. There were some videos this week kind of ranking that. That was a hot topic, best premieres. Pearl Islands comes to mind immediately. For a weird season, Survivor 44, pretty solid premiere. Winners at War, just them being on the beach with the champagne, fun premiere. There was just something different in the air with this. Didn't you feel it? It was so exhilarating that I feel like almost in a way Survivor looked itself in the mirror and said, okay, the 40s could have been better. What we consider the new era, which I hate for a name. I think we should dub it something else eventually. Maybe we can get ahead of that and do it ourselves. But this new era, right? How it's kind of been lackluster. And we've mentioned the ratings are still strong. There are still such an imprint of Survivor across this country that this franchise is not going away. But it is lacking as far as being this social barometer where you go to a bar, you go to the supermarket, and people are wearing the merch, talking about the show. That has kind of been lost a little bit over the years. Mike, they might have got that back tonight. That was how transformative this episode was, and I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get right into this right now. So we start this episode with kind of a video package, a sports-esque video package. And CBS does amazing with these for March Madness, for NFL, for the Masters, all their entities, right? And they do it here, and it's just incredible. It's just a flashback, and we're back to the first season. We have some of the best moments of this show's history, right, one after another. And I just want to say this one quick thing. Didn't have the best moment in the show's history, in my opinion. I just wanted to mention it. I just wanted to throw that out there. It did not have Wentworth Does Not Count, which is my personal favorite. I just wanted to throw that out there. Shout out to Kelly Wentworth. I just wanted to give her flowers right now.
Sure.
But regardless, it was a 9.9 out of 10. Just would have really liked that inclusion, but 9.9 out of 10. It was that good.
Real quick, I think the only reason why they didn't make this edit was because nobody from Cambodia is on this season.
No, totally get it. I think they were really sticking to the players on this cast. I get it. I do. I just wanted to say one of my favorites. Wish it was there. Anyway, Aubrey, first confessional. We get a Stephanie confessional. We get a Mike White confessional. And it's kind of the same theme. Everyone is just really happy and honored to be here. And that's the theme of the night. This kind of weight that, to be honest, Mike, I don't think existed in any other Survivor season. I think there was a hunger in heroes versus villains because of the names on that cast, but I don't think there was necessarily an appreciation. And then we get to second chances. There's definitely appreciation, no doubt about it, especially older players like Savage, who thought they would never play again, and they said as much. But still, it felt like, some of these people are still young. They could come back, right? Winners at War, it's in the name. You need the winners. So they were almost needed for the season to exist. Survivor 50 felt different. It felt like a guest list, and you were selected to be on it. And you were selected because of what you've given back to the game.
Yes.
And we've talked about some of the casting selections and how maybe what we have done, right? But at the end of the day, no one out here is like really fish out of water. All these people, in their own way, deserve to be out there. And I thought that was the beautiful part. And then we get the Jenna Lewis confessional, which we were waiting for. We thought she'd be first here. And she just talks about her journey, about how it's been so long since she's been on the show and how she's kind of the catalyst. She really is the needle throughout this entire show's history. She is the thread, right? What did you make of this opening part where we're just getting these rapid confessionals? We get this kind of hype video package. Just great.
I thought it was phenomenal. The video package was incredible. To mention, one of the moments that we did get was Stephanie LaGrossa being the last person there, and Jeff's just pointing at her like, well, that made the video package. But Jenna is the first person Jeff talks to when he goes on the beach, and she's kind of like, yeah, we started this, you and I, on this beach. And it wasn't this beach in Fiji, but on a beach in Borneo in 2001 or May of 2000, whatever it was.
Before we were born, Mike.
25 years ago. Way before, exactly right, way before we were born. I thought it was a really good, that was the appreciation. And by the way, X, there's 24 people on this beach. We've never had this large of a cast, and yet, like you mentioned, it doesn't feel like we have much filler. Like, I was watching this with my mom, and she jokingly was like, why is Q on this season? And this is all lighthearted, but it was like everyone, it's like, if you're pointing out Q is like, why is he on the season? He was good television, and yet he's one of the people it's like, well, what did he get back to the game? He was only one person, he only played once, but I get it. But nonetheless, all these names are here for a reason. Like, that's the point. There's 24 of them, and yet it doesn't feel that large because they all meant something to Survivor at one point or another. And we have people from different walks of, for example, we had Mike White, Colby, and Savannah all on the same beach of like 3 different time periods. You wouldn't think so, but Colby played in Australian Outback in season 2, and there was 42 days of Survivor. Mike White played in season 37, and then you had Savannah, who played 9 days ago. It's like all different types of players, all different types of people on the same beach at the same time, and it's hard to wrap your mind around, but they executed it brilliantly.
I think the most shocking part of this entire episode, and there's a lot of surprises, right, was how good Stephanie LaGrossa was in this first competition. Because after we get the introductions, we go right into the comp. Flint is on the line. Bragging rights are on the line. It's the first comp. And Mike, I was a little disappointed we didn't run back the Heroes versus Villains first comp.
That.
Because I think what I would have done for Survivor 15, maybe they're doing this, right? I would have done all classic challenges. I would have said, this is from this season. We're doing this right now. This was an iconic second challenge, whatever. You can match it to the exact challenge. You can just say, this is iconic. We're doing this. But I think that was a missed opportunity. But regardless, we got a fun comp. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But Stephanie LaGrossa, man, she killed this.
Yeah, sprinted through that.
And just a dominant effort. And it was fun to see her and Colby on the same tribe together. That was a fun little old school dynamic that we got. And Vatu were kind of wire-to-wire winners here. They looked good the entire time. Colby with an impressive showing as well. Both of those players really turned back the clock here. And Rizzo got a little bit tripped up at the end with Genevieve.
Yep.
But, they got it done. There's not a ton to analyze here, Mike. Everyone looked decent that did this comp. But it was really Stephanie and Colby that were the standouts.
100%. It almost looked like they were so jacked up to play again. They hadn't played since, as we mentioned, Heroes versus Villains. They won the first reward in that challenge as well, when it was like you're digging for a sandbag and then you have to like kind of wrestle away from everybody. I do like the point you mentioned about if they were to do challenges over again. They actually did that in Cambodia, Second Chance, where they were like,
yes,
not only is this a second chance for you guys, we're going to run the challenges that we've ran before, and you have a chance to get redemption on that challenge that you lost previously, or so as. So I actually really liked that we had a fun first challenge. It felt like an old school challenge, so to speak. There was still the whole obstacle course thing, but there was it was pairs of twos, and it felt like a little bit of old school mixed in with some new school stuff. Overall, really enjoyed that first reward challenge, and it's again all for Flint, and Stephanie out the gates kind of got her team the head start they had. It was her, I believe, for her tribe, and it was Camilla for you're gonna have to correct me on some of these tribe names. Kalo. I think he said it was Kalo is the tribe name.
I believe it's Kalo and Sela.
Sela
is what we got for Orange. Yes,
exactly right. But you saw, I mean, the women on Vatu, I really underrated. I know Stephanie was obviously a great challenge competitor in her seasons, but again, it was a long time ago. Aubrey even didn't look too bad. Angelina, Genevieve, like all the women stepped up for that tribe. Kyle looked really well rounded. Him and Colby kind of whipped through that thing. So everyone on Vatu really performed. And I coined them as like they're gonna be the disaster tribe this season. Well, first challenge they kept out of the gate, and they were really 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 good.
Yeah, and I think he catered to their strengths. Stephanie does like CrossFit stuff and stuff of that nature. Seems like she was a natural. And then in the strength department, Colby and Kyle are probably two of the best you can have. Obviously, we have Joe, we have Jonathan, but as far as like a well-rounded, not just strong but agile as well, Colby still holds up, man. He still holds up. He looks probably better in this one comp than any comp in Heroes vs Villains. Is that fair to say?
No, you're absolutely correct. It was the fat suit in Heroes vs Villains. This looks like an older Colby, but it looks like he's more well rounded.
Like an athlete, I think he's heard the noise, Mike. I think 30 seasons have gone by. He kind of admitted later in this episode he's not really like watching the current product that much. But regardless, he's still probably doing like fan conventions. He's still, he's still Colby Donaldson, right? He's still hearing in the Survivor universe. He knows what's up. He knows he dropped the ball, especially after how much of a cult hero he was his first 2 seasons. Like, it really kind of put a dent in his armor, but I think he got some of that out.
Jeff pointed that out to him. He was like, people were naming your kids and their dogs after you. You mean a lot to the show, and the appreciation from Colby you're now seeing. Like, we didn't see that on Heroes vs. Villains. He was an all-star dad, but Colby didn't really want to be there, it seemed like. Not his own words, but
he was so bitter throughout. I mean, just the verbal spats he was getting in. The episode with his brother, where he's like shitting on his brother, who's not really doing anything wrong. It's just
day 36, and Colby's complaining. And 3 days away from making day 39. It was very, very, But
it was a bad look.
Yeah, but we
got the fact that that guy was a goat. Like, it doesn't get worse than that, right? Man's a goat all of a sudden. What? How did this happen?
That's what I love about this season X. We get these kind of like redemption arcs from people we haven't seen on their screens since like 2010, and it's like, well, what if they, have like a moment? Like we talk about sports all the time. Like, what if they had this like redemption arc storyline? That would be so cool. Like, I know I'm personally, we talked about this with Theo. I'm personally rooting for the OGs. I said that the new era people have an advantage, but I'm rooting for the old school players that to at least be on my screen for a longer than a few weeks. Which the last time we had a returning season winners at war, it was Boston Rob, Sia, Ethan, Sia, Parvati, Tyson, Yule, everyone pre-merge was out. Sandra. It was like, I want to see these old school players on my screen a lot because it's an attachment that you have to the show. You associate them with the show of Survivor. And I want to see them on my screens a lot longer.
Well, here's the beauty of this episode, and perhaps this is modern editing, or maybe this is just the reality of what's going on. 24 people enter this game. We talk to all 24 people, and we kind of know where they're at, which I don't think has ever happened either. We've never seen this many people in a premiere episode and kind of understand not only how they're playing the game, who they might be aligned with, who they might be targeting. I thought this was a masterful editing job. And perhaps that's just the reality of coming into Survivor 50, where everyone knows they have to have their A game, so they're all playing right out of the gates.
Well, what I was going to say is, so we had 24 people on the island, right? I mentioned maybe we didn't see that much of Charlie. We didn't see that much of Tiffany. We didn't see that much of Aubrey. And yet all 3 of them had confessionals and they had big moments on the show. Like, that's important. We had that one Aubrey Genevieve confrontation. Like, that was an important piece of the episode, I feel like. And yet we didn't spend that much time with Aubrey. We didn't spend that much time with Charlie. We didn't spend that much time with a Tiffany or somebody else. But like, they were all they were in the edit. They were not invisible characters. Like, we had 24 people and no one felt left out. And that's pretty impressive. I know it was a 3-hour premiere, but for 24 castaways, somebody can easily fall behind and feel like a background character. And I feel like they did a really good job of making sure everyone was in the game and we knew where everyone's head was at and where their game plans were at. That's a really impressive job.
And it was a little bit of a breakneck pace. Like, I do understand that, but I think everything was in there for a reason. I think if this episode taught me anything, that we will be coming back to a lot of the seeds that were planted, but let's transition. We go back after the challenge. It's the Vatu tribe. Lena is kind of hyping herself up a little bit, which I kind of laughed at because I think that was my biggest casting gripe of anyone was Angelina. I just didn't see it. I didn't watch the season live. I watched it on a rewatch, so I didn't see the appeal. People really liked that moment where she's asking for the jacket, maybe more so than I could have ever imagined. So perhaps that was part of the appeal. I don't really know. But regardless, she seems like she's going to factor into the season one way or another. She's here to play. And if we know anything about Angelina, she is boisterous. She's not afraid to speak her opinion. So I do like that she's on this tribe with some more soft-spoken people that are relentless.
Yes.
Aubrey is definitely one of the more ruthless players in this cast, but she is soft-spoken. She's not going to like attack you.
No,
per
not
se.
a confrontational person, no.
No, she's going to do it in a different way, which we'll get to. So to have Angelina there balance out Audrey, Colby, Genevieve, Kyle.
Yeah.
She was kind of the only one that has that charisma to match Angelina. So I do like her inclusion. But Steph and Colby, it's very clear from the gates that they're going to work together. And to me, this is obvious, but apparently they hadn't really spoken in a while,
It
which
goes
is
without saying,
interesting.
right? Yeah, yeah.
But you would think, and we kind of went back and forth with this notion, are the OGs going to stick together or did they learn from past experience? And we were kind of on different sides of the aisle on this. And I believe I said eventually, like, it's human nature they're going to want to stick together. Like, it's just how it's going to be. Whether it's going to be all old school against new era or they're going to mix them in, we'll find out. But I figured they would try to, like, draw some lines. And that's obvious right out of the gate. And I think Colby's the most obvious person to do this, by the way. He's, like, an old school kind of guy. He has that, like, OG survivor mentality. His 3 appearances are 20 and before. So he doesn't know, like, anything about this. And I've already mentioned that, like, it's very obvious he isn't really up to date with the product right now. So I like that union. And then all of a sudden, he mentions that he did watch Kyle's season, which I thought was fun. He watched Kyle. He really likes Kyle. And that's the most recent season before heading on. So maybe that was some homework, right? He's fresh in the mind. I did mention that a few times throughout our episodes that Kyle would be perceived one way or the other because it's the most fresh in people's minds. And then Genevieve, which I thought was an interesting shout from Colby. He mentioned like the vibe she was giving off. So we get this initial alliance of Colby, Kyle, Genevieve, and Stephanie, yeah. Which I like the balance there. Too old school, too new era. Like that. I like that Colby's playing because in Heroes vs. Villains, he didn't play till like day 30.
No, it took him
It seemed like he was tapped out for most of the game, and then by the time he kind of got some energy back, it was too little, too late.
Well, I was gonna say on Heroes vs. Villains, we didn't even see Colby having these conversations, and that's why him, Tom, and Stephanie particularly were on the outside of the Heroes tribe immediately. Right now, we're seeing, and I was like, Colby hits the ground running. It's like, I like Genevieve. I don't know much about her.
Like, you want to know why? Because
Why?
he came in with an entitlement that he was Superman, that people were naming babies after him. He knew that. And he looked at Tom, who kind of matched his demographic as this like honorable, old school kind of fellow.
Made sense.
And then Stephanie, again, kind of all-American girl, same sort of values. And Colby in particular thought that he could just sit back, let Tom do most of the work, and that'd be that. And then once Tom got plucked, it was over for Colby. He didn't have a plan B. He just never had a plan B. And by the time he was trying to work something with Rupert and do all this with maybe JT, it just never got out of the box. So I think there was, not only physically did he need to prove himself, he needed to prove himself mentally as well and kind of show that all these mistakes I made last time, I need to rectify each and every one of them immediately. What does he do? He does great in the comp instantly, better than he did throughout his entire time in 20, and then strategizes beyond just who he feels comfortable with initially because he knows them and goes to some other people that he thinks he can align himself with, which I appreciated. And I liked the diversity that he included with this from a like thinking standpoint, a physical standpoint. He was really trying to cover all of his bases, and I thought that was a brilliant move. But Mike, one of the highlights is just Aubrey being weird for like 5 minutes.
Very tense.
And it was by far the most like kind of thrown in part of the episode. We didn't really get a follow-up. Yeah, it was just kind of like shoehorned in for no reason. She's sitting there talking to Genevieve. There goes yeah, that's okay. She's sitting there talking to Genevieve. She's like, yeah, I mean, what do you think about me, right? Like, it was almost like a first date question. Like, how do you perceive me?
Yeah.
And Genevieve's like, oh, I think you're cute. I like you. Yeah. And Aubrey's like, do you really though? Like, are you sure about that? And what I took from this, and what I said like literally out loud, felt like they were looking in each other's mirror. It felt like the reason this entire altercation happened, because Aubrey and Genevieve kind of saw each other's game, and they were like, we are basically the same person.
Yeah.
Now, I think Genevieve has a higher ceiling, but I think Aubrey's floor, despite her last appearance, which was really bad, and she was almost a GOAT the time before that.
Yeah, she was dead on arrival.
She's shown that she can do this at a high level with a good cast. Genevieve's cast, okay. It was okay. She has one of the most iconic moments of the new era, but let's face it, the cast was shaky.
She was
And
with
we like
Rome.
some people on that, right? Like we love Sam, we like Rachel very much, but strategically, you know, no, it was, you can get one over on Rome. You can get one over on Caroline.
I like Saul.
Getting one over on even a Q, a Kyle Rizzo
Sure.
takes a little more work. It just
Yeah.
does, right?
Yeah.
So there is this kind of battle of we are trying to play the same game, but if we're both trying to play the same game, that means you're in my way.
Only
And
room
I
for one of
think
us on
it's
the island.
interesting that both women in a weird way, kind of acknowledge that they cannot play this game together. Because I think Genevieve was trying to do the diplomatic thing and say, yeah, we can, we can be dangerous together. But I think Aubrey correctly kind of looked at the situation and said, hold on now. If we're both doing this the same way, one of us is going to get royally played because that means we're going to be cutthroat and we're just going to let you hang when it's your time. So
No, it was incredible. I almost felt like it was like they both had like knives behind their back, ready to strike, but they wanted to see. It was like a standoffish, like two lions looking at each other, like seeing who's gonna blink first. Aubrey mentions like, "What's your perception of me?" And Genevieve's like, "Well, you're dangerous, but I could work with danger on my side. Like I don't mind if it's on my side." But it's this little bit of like they don't trust each other as they're talking to each other. I liked Kyle's approach more, where he went up to Genevieve and was like, "Hey, I've worked with somebody like you before." He doesn't say it to her, but in his confessional, he mentions he worked with Camilla and it got him $1 million. Like he could work with somebody like Genevieve and they could go far together. I think with Aubrey and Genevieve, it's almost like, it's not the island's not big enough for the two of us. One of those things. It's like only
no.
one of us can be here on this tribe scheming and plotting. And it's like it was one of those things where I don't think they're gonna have that won't be a alliance built on trust at all, because they already don't they're already on shaky ground as a trustworthiness goes, because they've seen each other's games and they've seen it mirror each other. So they know I wouldn't trust myself, so why would I trust this girl who's mirroring her game after mine?
Do you agree with that assessment, though?
Well, see, for Aubrey, it's tricky. I think that in Aubrey's last outing, she was unaware, not self-aware of how dangerous she was and how threatening she was. So for her, she's trying to gauge what her threat level is immediately. I don't know if Genevieve's the right person to go up to, though. Me personally, after watching Genevieve's season and seeing how kind of first she came off a little bit like a cold, like a little bit of an ice queen, like kind of standoffish. She didn't really mingle with anybody until like the merge outside of Rome. So if I'm Aubrey, I'm going to somebody else at first, seeing, okay, what do you think of me? Can we work together? I would not go to Genevieve specifically. So I thought that might have been maybe not her best choice, but I think Aubrey's trying. I mean, she can't do any worse than she did at Edge of Extinction, but she's trying to gauge how the island perceives her.
And I think that's the right approach. If you're an OG, I think where most of these OGs have gone wrong in prior seasons where they're kind of outnumbered, they don't understand that they are the biggest threats on the island. And I mentioned this. It may not be right, it may not be true, but that's the perception, and perception is reality.
Yeah.
So if you're Aubrey, people don't really remember Edge of Extinction Aubrey. They remember Koa Wrong Aubrey, the reason why you're on this show. If you're Colby Donaldson, people remember Heroes versus Villains, sure, but they remember Australian Outback a hell of a lot more from you, right? So if you're these people, you kind of have to dance around the fact that you're a big threat and you have to cater to that. And I kind of liked the fact that she faced it head on. Would I have done it necessarily the same way? Maybe not, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if you tell someone you're coming for them subtly like she did. If you're kind of blurting it out and telling everyone, okay. But I think if you're like, listen, I respect you, but I can't work with you, I think that can bode well for you because you're not going to be necessarily top of mind. You know you're going to be a threat here in the near future, but at least now you're prepared for it, right? You are gauging that person. You are understanding that they're coming after you now, and now you can prepare for it. Whereas before that, you weren't 100% sure. You were a little bit shaky, I like the fact that you know where your sights have to be.
I agree with that. My issue with the whole Aubrey Genevieve standoff is it's not even really their standoff, because if you're indirectly, subtly, without saying I'm going after you, like you're saying it without saying it, basically.
It's everyone else.
It's everyone else that matters. Like you need the votes
Yeah.
to ultimately get somebody out. We'll talk about this later with Sari and Jenna, who also had a bit of a like, I'm going after you, you're going after me. It's about the relationships around you. Like if you're actually going after Aubrey, for example, you're gonna have to get the numbers to get rid of an Aubrey, or Aubrey vice versa, Genevieve. So I thought for Genevieve, at least in this first episode, it looks like people are more willing to work with her. I mean, Kyle goes up to Genevieve, Stephanie goes up to Genevieve, Colby goes up to Genevieve. Like those are 3 people in an 8-person tribe. If you have a 4, that's really strong, obviously. So it didn't seem like, at least not in the edit, no one went up to Aubrey and said, "Hey, Aubrey, me and you." Like we saw in the other tribe with some other brainiacs like Christian and Emily, the known schemers and the plotters. Like they're working together. It didn't feel as reciprocal with Aubrey and the schemers on this tribe. I didn't see a Rizzo Aubrey scene of them being like, "Hey, we can link up." I saw more Rizzo Colby than I did see Rizzo Aubrey.
Yeah.
I didn't see, like, the only Aubrey Genevieve scene we got was a little bit standoffish. It was a little bit, we're on pins and needles. We're walking on eggshells here. It was like shaky ground. So that would be my concern with Aubrey. I don't think she's taking the wrong approach. I'm saying you could even hear the music in the background. It wasn't like it was like this kumbaya vibe when it was Genevieve and Aubrey facing off against each other. It almost like okay, we're going after each other. It's going to be who gets the numbers to get the other one out.
Well, Colby doesn't like Rizzo, at least not initially. And we will circle back to that. That was a fun little bit where he called Rizzo incredibly annoying and just did not understand his appeal as a young 25-year-old. He remembers being 25, but he doesn't understand why Rizzo's this fun 25-year-old. He doesn't get it. He eventually does, trust me. But before we go back to the other tribe dynamics, I think this supply challenge is important to understand the other two tribes' vibes into the gates here, right? So it is Ozzy versus Coach versus Q in this kind of supply showdown. If you win this, you get some supplies. This is kind of an off the radar thing. They're all competing amongst each other. Basically, you got to get some sticks at these various locations. Once you retrieve all of them, you got to make this like contraption to get a key. First one to get the key wins. We've seen variants of this numerous times.
100%.
Thought this was pretty fun. Right out of the gates, Ozzy is dominant. He looks like old school Ozzy. Mike, I would put your hand down because it gets a lot worse for him.
Put my feather in my cap.
He's out there.
Well, hang on a second now. Ozzy
he looked good for 5 minutes, okay? He looked really, really good. He has a big lead in this.
I'll get to this.
And then his contraption fails, and then Coach's contraption fails, and Q eventually catches up, and his contraption fails. And it is evident from the jump that this is going to be a while, where none of these guys really have a gauge on how to make their stick to retrieve the key strong enough to retrieve the key.
The wind is crazy. Yeah,
the wind's crazy. I don't think they gave them enough support. I think it was just kind of too difficult from the get-go.
He's on the top of the thing. He's on the top of the platform trying to reach over. I'm like, what's going on here?
And because it's taking so long, Ozzy is at like the top rung of this contraption, this like bamboo kind of grid type thing. He is continuously hitting his back over and over again against this bamboo to the point where he has to like kind of stand on top of it. But it is evident he is in pain. He's in a lot of pain. And Coach is kind of looking around like, I can steal this, because the caveat of getting this key is you can't just like grab the key and you win. You have to kind of bring it back the entire way. And the person who has it at like this kind of quote unquote finish line wins the challenge. It doesn't matter if you grab it first, it's who has it last. And Ozzy does something which I hate this. I cannot stand this. He does the, I'll let you guys have it, man. Like, if you guys get it, I'm not fighting for it. You've been out there for 40 minutes. What do you mean you're not fighting for it? What are you talking about? And Q kind of like haphazardly says like, yeah, like, cool, whatever. Coach is looking around like, yeah, right. Like, I'm out here for this long. Like, the least I can do is try to win this. Eventually, Ozzy kind of like knocks it down. He doesn't really like grip it very well. He just kind of knocks it down. And then Coach, all of a sudden, like a hyena, pounces. He gets his stick, immediately wrestles with it, beats Ozzy, drags it all the way back, and Coach is the victor. He earns the supplies for his tribe. Mike, before this challenge, we got a little bit of a burying the hatchet with Ozzy and Coach.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about what happened nearly 30 seasons ago at this point. It's been a long time since they were in South Pacific together, where basically Ozzy, one way or the another, cost Coach the game. And you can say this inverse is true as well, that Coach cost Ozzy. He cost at least one of their chances at winning. I think that's more than fair to say, right? But regardless, it was really Ozzy's kind of plea to the jury that ruined that win for Coach at the end of the day. Right? Coach has plenty of blame in that, but it was a lot of driven narratives from Ozzy.
They both burned each other, but Ozzy said, I'm bringing you down with me. Like, we're both going down. Neither of us are going to win. Yeah.
And they kind of were like, hey, that was a long time ago.
27 seasons ago.
We don't think the right winner won. And I think a lot of fans would agree with that. I think at worst, one of them should have won, right? The fact that neither of them is that season's representative does feel very wrong, right? And they're like, hey, we're good now. It's all good. We're going to be honorable. So then Coach, when he steals it, Ozzy is heated because he's like, wait, what did we just talk about? Now here's my thing and why I've always liked Coach and why Ozzy's kind of been a sour subject for me throughout his appearances and why I say he doesn't learn. The goal is to win the challenge. It is not dishonorable to try to fight to take the key to win the challenge. You are not honorable by knocking the key off, right? That does not mean anything. You did not win. You did half of it. The objective is to bring the key to the end. It's not like Coach put Ozzy in a headlock and threw him to the ground. The goal was to bring it to the end. Ozzy did not finish the job. He did not complete the challenge. So therefore, he did not deserve to win the challenge. He exhausted all of his energy. He didn't let Q or Coach try to knock it off, really. It was all him. He knew what he was doing. He tried to float that out, the idea of like, hey, if I get this, I want to win this, because he was exhausted and he knew if it was a scrap at the end that he would lose. And guess what, Mike? He lost, and he lost fair and square.
Yeah,
there was no dirty tactics here, anything. He lost. So this narrative that Coach was dishonorable here and that all that talk that they had was null and void really irritated me as someone who was trying to give Ozzy, a.k.a. Oscar, this new chance. I wanted to see the fangs come out of Ozzy. I wanted to see him fight for that. And if he lost, admit that he lost and maybe do something dirty back to Coach down the line. That's what I wanted to see from Ozzy. That is Survivor. I don't like the pity party. And that's kind of been a big Ozzy thing. When things go wrong for Ozzy, it's a pity party. When he got voted out, when he was blindsided, he took it like it was a personal attack against his entire family. He did not realize that it was a game on fans versus favorites. He was so bitter about it. Yes. This time around, I saw that same Ozzy. And I thought we were past that. I saw the bitter Ozzy that came out in Game Changers, where he wasn't the same necessarily like egotistical kid that he was in his prior appearances, but he was so bitter. He was so bitter in how he was wronged prior because he was a god of the game. How could he have not won by this point? He is Ozzy, for Christ's sakes. I saw that guy come out for a few minutes, and I didn't like it.
I did not see that guy come out. So we disagree on this challenge. This is actually fun. So Ozzy whips through this entire challenge.
It's better when we disagree, by the way, folks. It is better when we disagree.
100%. So Ozzy whips through this entire challenge. I'm going to put a feather in my cap right now because he absolutely was lapping this. I was like, oh my God, they made the challenge for Ozzy. Now, the thing about this challenge is the first 90% of it does not matter at all. So Ozzy does the first 90% of the challenge and kind of laps the field, but it doesn't really matter because it all comes down to who gets the key. Matter of fact, it doesn't even matter who gets the key because, by the way, Ozzy does that too. The point of the challenge is just to get the key back to your platform, basically. You basically just drag it back. So Ozzy does all the heavy lifting. He's sitting up there for an hour. He finally gets the key to hit the sand, and then Coach steals it at the last second. So I understand both of their perspectives from this. Ozzy basically did the entire challenge and was ahead the entire time. Actually, finally gets the key off the ring, which allows Coach and Q both to finally fight for it. I think Coach made the right move. He was not the one who said, "Yeah, I'm agreeing to this." Q agreed to it. Coach did not agree to it. So obviously, if you're Coach, you can steal it by all means. But if you're actually going to make a hey, let's squash everything thing, and then agree to be like, hey, whoever gets this key off the edge there first, off the little ledge there first, will win the challenge, and then you go and steal it. That would be a rough moment for Coach.
But Mike, he didn't agree to it though. He didn't agree to it.
I'm agreeing. I'm saying he didn't say anything. He kept his mouth shut, which I think was very smart. For Ozzy, I can understand why he's a little bit upset because I thought we buried the hatchet.
But Mike, here's my kind of disconnect here. Ozzy dominated parts of the challenge.
Make a mistake. Yes. Coach and Q did absolutely nothing in that challenge. Ozzy did the entire thing, cut the key off of it. I mean, he didn't.
Right. He did all of that. But he didn't win the challenge because he didn't complete the challenge. It doesn't matter if you're ahead 90% of a game.
No,
it matters what the final score is.
By the way,
so for me, it's like, okay, Ozzy's ahead for 90% of the challenge. He loses at the end. I would be upset. If I'm winning that entire time and I kind of blow it at the end, it's human nature. You're upset. But to act like Coach was dishonorable, and he went back on everything he just said because he beat you in a competition that he wanted to win, not just for himself, for his entire tribe. It's not like this was for like a, black a vote, a steal a vote, whatever. What are these a
It was for
million new era
supplies.
things?
It's
It was
not
for supplies for the entire tribe. That really puts you ahead early in this game. That's a big deal, right? And we'll get to that being a big deal. Okay.
pushback on.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
it's a big deal at all. I think after that challenge, I thought if Ozzy let that fester and kept talking about it, I would have been in your boat, but he didn't. And in fact, if we can skip a little bit forward here, he and Q spent the night on Exile Island. The next
Exile's
morning,
back.
Exile's back. Of course, we get Exile Island back. I like Exile Island. I thought it would be a because by the way, they're losing 24 hours of social standing in their tribe. That's a big
Mike,
disadvantage.
this is not a debate. Exile Island is infinitely better than Edge of Extinction. I like the concept of Exile Island. I like the fact that this is a social game. This, in a way, is like a punishment, in a way, like a reflection time, whatever you want to call it. It takes you away from the social dynamic of the game. I think that is brilliant. To be voted out and just stay on an island and maybe come back, garbage. Sorry. I love Exile Island. I am pumped that it's back.
Now let me finish this point about
keep
the
going.
actual supply challenge, because I think Ozzy is the real winner of the supply challenge, and he quickly realizes that because they're given the opportunity. Okay, one of you will get pots and pans. It's not the whole supplies, but you get pots and pans. The other person will get an extra vote, so you can get the supplies, but you lose a vote. The other person doesn't get any supplies, but they get the extra vote. Ozzy is able to correctly assess the supplies mean nothing. They've gotten me nowhere in the past. I've gotten the supplies for the tribe in the past.
Can I push back a tiny bit?
Before you push back,
Yeah.
can we agree, by the way, because we see later in the episode, Ozzy starts fire, Ozzy's still providing for the tribe. He doesn't need doesn't need the supplies. So the challenge, he didn't actually have to win the challenge. It actually, in retrospect, works out. Coach gets the supplies, everyone's happy. Ozzy gets, I think, what's more important. And for him, it is power in the game, not supplies and being nice to your tribe, because no one really cares. Devin says it later on. 26 days, if you can be the provider, no one really cares. That's yesterday's news. That's old school gameplay. We don't care about that, providing for the tribe thing. Ozzy correctly assesses that and says, hey, you know what? This is a new Ozzy. This is Oscar now. I'm going for the extra vote. That's information in this game. That's power in this game. The supplies stuff, that's me in 20 seasons ago. I don't need this supplies. I don't need the pots and pans. Hey, Q, you can take it. Have fun not voting at tribal. I will take the extra vote and start building relationships on this tribe.
My slight pushback, and it's not really a pushback, it's just an alternative opinion. I completely agree with you. I think Ozzy needed to do that. But I thought all three men won here. I thought this was a mutually beneficial agreement. I think Coach is this provider-like figure. So even though it is yesterday's news in a way to be like the Ozzy-type version of that, I think Coach is almost an emotional version of that. He is kind of like this spiritual leader, which I'm sure he'd get a kick out of if he heard this, right? So by him coming back, it is such a good morale boost. Like, there's no way you could think otherwise. Him coming back the way he did, dancing around with the supplies, that is massive for Colo, right? Like, it just is. It's going to be...
I wouldn't say it's massive.
It's going to be important.
I think it's important.
Well, I think it's good for his standing because everyone seems to love him, which we knew reading the pregame Bloom stuff, right? Heading into the season. We already knew that. But now watching it unfold, he's kind of the entertainment. Charlie says as such, like, Coach is our entertainment, and we love this guy, right? For Sela, Ozzy comes back. Yeah, he doesn't win, but he's freaking Ozzy. Like, he can probably figure it out. He can get us supplies. He'll do enough, right? Vatu, Q is like, yeah, I lost, but here's the supplies, guys. And Q is kind of this weird figure where, like, it's not really a question for me and why he's back. I get it. He's so entertaining, in my opinion. Like, I really, really love Q. But he's boisterous. He is kind of like a heavy personality. I feel like he'd be my best friend on the island, but I could see why someone could be annoyed by his presence as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think by him coming back, kind of being like, this calming presence, like, yeah, this is what happened. Like, everyone seemed to really feel good about that. So I think that bought Q some social points that I'm not sure he would have had if he didn't go on that. I'm not saying it's like the difference of him staying or going home. I don't think it's that drastic. But I think it did help some social standing for Q for sure. As someone who is like probably one of the least established people on this entire like beach collective, I think that helps a guy like him.
So for Ozzy, looking at it from his lens, which I kind of was during the episode, he does not need to win pots and pans. He does not need to win any supplies. He needs
he needs as much protection as possible.
In a 26-day game, not 39 days, when they merge on day 12, getting supplies for the early stage of the game does not matter for him. For Coach and Q, maybe it does matter. I don't think it's that big of an advantage because again, they merge in like day 11. But for the early stages of the game, it helps. You don't want to be the disaster tribe, obviously. But I don't think for Ozzy that has not worked in the past. Winning challenges early on, that doesn't get you anywhere but a big target on the merge. That's all that gets you. That doesn't really do you anything. It helps you early game with the supplies, all the other stuff. But again, 26-day game, fast-paced environment. Ozzy needs that extra vote. Q probably didn't need that extra vote. It would not have been good in Q's hands. I don't think he would have known what to do with it. He immediately runs and tells Kyle, "I lost my vote, dude." So, I just don't think Q's a little, again, talks a little bit too much. Probably would not have been good with him having the extra vote. For Coach, and I think this is a win for Coach because he beats Ozzy specifically. I think if just Coach won over anyone, I think it's like, okay, cool. Coach
You're
provided,
100% correct.
But him beating Ozzy specifically is a big win for him.
Mike,
but I think
let's face it, he's a mythical creature in a way. He just is. He's this like aura fountain of a figure. So when he comes back and he beats Ozzy, that's a dragon slate. He said as much, right?
No,
that helps build his kind of prestige because even though it is kind of funny and we never really know if he's in on the joke or not, one thing is clear. People love the Coach gimmick, man. They love it. They eat it up.
Yeah.
So if you can really build that up, if you're Coach, if you can say like, hey, not only am I Coach, I still got this. Like I can still win. I think D even mentioned like for an old guy, he's still got muscles. Like he's still in shape, right?
And by the way, they probably assumed that he like beat Ozzy in something that like Ozzy didn't totally dominate the challenge in. But then you hear from Q and other people telling people how it happened.
Yeah,
maybe that gets around. I don't think it really matters. I came away from this challenge saying all three guys won something. I thought Ozzy being bitter for maybe 20 seconds and then being like, you know what? The following day, he's like, you know what? I don't need to win this supply. Let me get the advantage. Let me get the extra vote. I thought all three guys got what they needed specifically, and that's why I came out of it saying, the Ozzy Coach beef aside, they both won in this supply challenge. One of the guys won pots and pans and supplies. The other guy got what's I think more important for his game, which is the extra vote.
Super fast before we move on. I just didn't like that 20, 30 seconds to Ozzy coming out because I feel like that guy's still there and that could be foreshadowing down the line. We'll see. It's still so early, obviously.
It was a really good next hour from Ozzy.
Yes, he had a good bounce back, no doubt about it. But we already mentioned when Coach comes back, the Kalo tribe, it's like a hero's welcome. Like they're just
tell me what happened.
Cheering and yeah, it's the whole thing. Not a ton to really dive into. We see like this
Mike White has a six-pack.
Yeah, Mike White is shredded, by the way.
I
forgot to mention that. We see this kind of D-Tiffany alliance, which, again, if I'm these people, right, and you want to go away from stereotypes, the new era woman working together who played a season apart, X can sniff that out, so they can sniff that out too. Don't love that. I wish you would diversify a little bit more.
Yeah.
They rope Camilla in, which does not help that whatsoever.
So
then you're
obvious. Yeah.
Oh my God. So I didn't like that, and I really like Camilla. She even mentions like my season sucked, which we all agree with.
I don't agree. I don't agree with you. You agree with. I don't agree with.
Me and Theo are adamant that season was terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, I liked that Camilla shared my opinion here. I think the most important part, which I want to hear your thoughts on, Coach makes a deal with Jonathan. It's very kind of blink or you'll miss it, but he kind of goes up to him and he's like, we're together, right? And Jonathan is like, yeah, like, let's go.
The handshake was like, oh, that's interesting.
It felt like he was trying to solidify something. And then even though it wasn't really, spoken in vain, it was kind of insinuated that Mike White is also kind of in that sphere. It seems like, kind of reading the tea leaves, that it is Mike White, Coach.
Team coach, yeah.
And Jonathan. And then maybe we'll get like a Charlie or Camilla roped in. They were kind of on the periphery. They were talking about those two. I think Charlie's probably who they'll go with, and maybe they'll do like a guys thing. But I thought that was really interesting. I want to hear your thoughts on it because we kind of sniffed out this Coach Mike White alliance. Like we sniffed this out during when we talked about it at the end of 49 when we were looking ahead towards 50. I think I made a comment of it during our draft. Like this just felt like a natural union that was going to happen. But Jonathan going in, again, kind of felt a little obvious, but in a way, I think this could work. What do you think?
I think it can work, too. The reason why I think it can work was because, so we see the D, Camilla, Tiffany kind of trio. And we're like, okay, this is something, might have legs. But then we also, in that same vein as we see here, Kalo, Chrissy's like, can we just hurry up and start strategizing? She immediately runs to Coach, I believe runs to Mike White, and she's like, I'm scared of D. So I don't think the girls will be able to do a girls thing because I think Chrissy's immediately scared of D. And I think in that other trio you mentioned of Mike White, Jonathan, and Charlie, perhaps, Jonathan Coach and Mike White. They could rope in a Charlie, and I think Chrissy would also be in team Mike White, team
Yeah,
Coach.
that camp for sure.
I
Yeah.
think she's in the camp of I'm scared of D. I'm scared of these women that might not be. They're
By the
rare
way,
women.
Mike, newsflash: be scared of the winners. Like I feel like that was not brought up nearly enough in this
Glaring-
episode.
Yes,
Someone that's won as dominant as D. I cannot believe it took Chrissy Hoffbeck running around the island.
D's scary.
She just read a breaking news report that this just happened. Like, this should be incredibly obvious. This should be almost like an unspoken thing. So the fact that it took so long for a winner to be thrown under the bus was kind of shocking, but I appreciated that it was Chrissy and she was going after probably the most dominant winner on this
The biggest
beach.
threat on the beach is D. She's the most recent winner on that beach. So it made sense. So that's why I like the camp that Coach is in because people are approaching Coach. It's not like they're going to everyone else and being like, hey, can we rope Coach in? No. Everyone's going up to Coach with a plan and be like, hey, who do you think about this guy? What do you think about D? What do you think about Charlie? What are your thoughts on Camilla? Like everyone's talking to Coach, asking for his opinion, and it's very similar, a little bit, not as cult-like, as South Pacific, where everyone's going up to Coach and being like, what can I do?
It's kind of Boston Rob Godfather in a way, where the minions are giving him the information, and he's not doing a ton to drive it either. He's just kind of existing as himself,
It's up
and
to him.
everyone else is kind of working around him. I thought, like, stock report from this episode, spoiler, Coach has to have the highest stock report after this.
Yeah.
Stock is
The
through
highest?
the roof.
Really?
Yeah. At least gained the most stock. Maybe not like number one overall, but gained the most stock. I think it has to be Coach because I think no one else showed that they have as many people wrapped around their finger like Coach, or could have as many people wrapped around their finger as Coach. And in a game like Survivor, I think that is more of currency than any block of vote, advantage, whatever. Those are temporary. The influence is what lasts. And I think Coach showing that this early is really impactful.
I think that we might do stock up, stock down later, but I think with Coach, I had some pretty high stock on him going forward. So those people that I'm like,
I mean, we all did, right? So it's kind of tough for us to like go higher. You know,
That's what I'm
I
saying.
get what you mean.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of like guys who I had like I'm immediately thinking Colby. I'm expecting him to be horrible, and then I was like, oh my god, that was a good Colby episode. So I'm almost like stock up on Colby just out of sheer like Stephanie. Same thing. I was so like, oh my god, Stephanie, come on, what are we doing here? She'll be an early boot, and then I'm like, wait, Stephanie's. Hang on a second. So I was like stock up on people I was so low on with Coach. I actually thought Coach going in actually had some serious staying power in the game. And
I'll say this, Mike. Yeah. When an MVP in a sport has an amazing game, we almost expect that, right? Whereas, like, if it's a bench player who has an amazing game, we prop that up to almost mean something more when in reality it doesn't. I think that's what we're talking about right here. We're like, Coach, we had so much stock of him heading in, so it almost felt like what we expected. But in reality, he was doing the most in this episode.
No, episode 1 confirmed to me that Coach is going to have a lot of power in this game. The information is going to be his. It's up to him what he does with it. But it just confirmed my thoughts, basically. Like I didn't think Coach was the biggest shocker of the episode because I was like, I thought Coach was going to have some legit, like he's going to have some pathways to maneuver in this game. Other people I thought would be hitting the beach and they'd have some trouble. And like, for example, Kyle, I was like, Kyle's going to be in real big trouble. I thought Kyle had a fantastic episode prior to the last 5 minutes.
Yes.
But, other guys, like Coach just confirmed my opinions of him. So maybe my stock wouldn't be too far up because I was already pointing like this. But ultimately, still, Coach having this much say in a tribe early. By the way, a very strong tribe. They might not have to go to tribal council very many times because they have Jonathan. By the way, their women are strong. Chrissy and Tiffany are good at puzzles. D is literally on the challenge. I see her do these 6 challenges every day. Like they have legitimately strong women. And oh, by the way, they have Jonathan and is Mike White their weakest players? He's at a 6-pack now. Like that's a legit tribe.
I think this is the most well-rounded tribe by a good margin.
D says it. She's like, we have everything. What do they don't have? They have everything.
I would be shocked if they go to tribal. Like much at all. Like maybe once. I would be stunned.
Well, that's why I think they correctly assume if we do it at tribal, D has got to be snipped because you can't let her get an inch in this game. You give her an inch, you take a mile. So if they end up losing a challenge, I think that's where you'd have to look. But Coach is in a great spot. Of a dominant tribe, he's getting all the information.
They're a tribe that will force a tribe swap prematurely. It'll force a Jeff premature tribe swap because it'll be like, okay, these guys are way too good. We have to shake things up just to make this a little bit more interesting. But we go over to the Sela Beach, Mike, and
I love this
It's
beach.
a lot of kumbaya on this beach, more so than the other beaches, I would say.
I
We're
love this
like,
beach.
yeah, we're getting connections on Vatu, and Kalo is kind of being run by Coach, and everyone likes Coach, sure. But Seal, it seems like there's this mutual respect among the 8 that are there, even to Savannah, who none of these people have seen. The other 7, the report's out on them. Emily, like a little bit of an outsider, but they still like respect her. They understand her game. Savannah, like, really is like, what is she doing here? But even so, they were all kind of saying the same thing, which was she's here for a reason. This is Survivor 50. We understand that she's a good player. We are not like discounting her just because she's a newbie and we haven't seen her. We respect her, which I think is the right approach. Do not take anyone lightly. We've seen how that's cost people in the past, predominantly on heroes versus villains. So I
Rough.
like that they kind of changed the dynamic here. And Savannah admits she has to. She doesn't really have a choice. That she won her season,
She's
and
gonna
that
get
gets
around.
a little applause. And they're like, okay, we know what we're working with now. Like, she's great. Now, Savannah intentionally leaves out details on how she won her season. I don't think it matters. When you win for a reason. The threat level goes up immediately. Sari, Christian, Anna Lewis, Joe, Ozzy, Rick, those 6, it's like, we're here. We are here. But Jenna Lewis is not satisfied with just being here, which
No.
I appreciated, by the way.
Yeah.
I like that she was coming out to play. Borneo, she's like this teenager. She makes
Yeah.
it decently far, right?
She's like 19 years
She's
old.
good enough to come back for All Stars. She loses to Robin Amber, which is like, nothing wrong with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So she understands that that was eons ago. The game's passed her by. She needs to adapt. So she does the worst thing that she can possibly do, which in an All Star season acts like she's never played the game before and plays so hard, so fast. By the way, I don't necessarily dislike the read that she had, which was Cherie is incredibly dangerous.
Duh.
She, like, obviously, right? But also that she stinks in these challenges. And she's always stunk in these challenges. And, like, she's now 55 years old. She's only going to get worse and worse and worse in these challenges. And Joe says it after. You want to know the best way to stay in the game? Is you don't go to tribal council. You know how you don't go to tribal council? Is if
Why,
you
like-
just win these damn challenges. I think that's a good assessment. I would
This is why I
also
like Joe, by the way.
have look. Joe grew on
I'm
me in this
bringing-
episode. I thought he had some good reads here, and I think that's the right assessment. I think that is almost overlooked in modern Survivor. This idea that if you just win, you're in good shape. I think that was kind of an old school mentality that has been lost because it's almost like now you have to intentionally lose to get people out. But then you put yourself at risk. How about you just keep yourself clean, you make it to the merge, and then you go for people's jugulars? There's no reason the
Wait.
first episode to start taking people out and blindsiding them. Oh, there's
By the
no
way,
need for that.
It's an old school assessment, but it's also the correct assessment. If you win
Yes.
tribal immunity, you are set up better for the merge.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
And then you have longer time to kind of make inroads within your own tribe, which is probably the best bonds you could possibly make in Survivor. And that only sets you up better for the long game. So I totally agree with Jenna Lewis. I thought she picked out the worst person on her tribe physically, but also one of the most dangerous people socially. That's what you have to do in Survivor, right? To try to get out people that hurt you socially, but physically could impact your chance of going home. Spoiler alert, it impacted Jenna Lewis's chances of going
Yeah.
home.
Can I push back just a little bit because I do have one
Yes.
issue of Jenna Lewis's game. This has been. She's
By
not
the
first
way,
person-
what was there to like about her game tonight, Mike?
well, I know. I mean, she had the right assessment, but
I liked her
gonna-
assessment. I liked nothing how she went about it, though.
I'm going to go into why it was actually the wrong time. This is not
Okay.
new information.
Okay.
Suri has been targeted since her first season. She was almost
Yes.
the first person voted out on Panama, Exile Island. She was on the older women tribe, and she was a fish out of
Yes.
water. So Jenna Lewis not the first person to, on day one, say, hey, Suri sucks at challenges.
Very early boot in Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah, that's the only time, though. Every single other time, Suri is an early target, and she doesn't go home early. So this
Yeah.
is not, again, Jenna's not breaking information. We know early season, Suri is weak at challenges, so she's one of the pick of the litter of like, okay, can we just vote Suri off? She's always going to be an option. Now she's a huge target, so she's got an even bigger target. So day one, Suri hits the beach, and me as a Suri super fanatic, I knew Suri would have some trouble early. I was like, I saw Suri and Jenna same time together. I'm like, this is gonna be bad news for one of these two women because the way Jenna Lewis plays, she's getting out either the winners or the people who have played multiple times before. This is Suri's 5th time playing, so I knew Jenna would be going out for Suri immediately. My issue was, okay, could Suri work with Ozzy? Could she get in with people? Can she work her Suri stuff? And ultimately, she does. She did. We'll get to that later on in the episode. But I think with Jenna Lewis, if you throw out Suri's name, you better have a backing because Suri is so good at connecting, and she has these past relationships. You mentioned Jenna Lewis has not been on our screens since season 8. Suri has been on our screens 5 times since. 4 times.
Mike, beyond that, she goes to the fan
times.
fest. She is like really in the community. Jenna Lewis, not as much. All of these people revere Suri because she's been around so much, not just on Survivor, but again, in the communities, on other shows like
Big
Traitors,
Brother.
like Big Brother. She was just on Australian Survivor, right? Like she's been all around. She is front of mind. People respect and like her. Jenna Lewis, you know, season 1 vet, but it's been a while. You're not going to have that social standing. I think this was less to do with Suri magic, which she has some magic. Don't get it wrong. Do not get it twisted. She had some magic.
I'm with you here. Yeah.
I think it was more Jenna Lewis kind of self-implosion because...
Oh, okay. Oh. I thought you were going somewhere else.
Yes. No, I'll go where you thought I was going to. Trust me. But I thought this was a lot of Jenna Lewis self-implosion because she's going around and telling everyone, and she's adamant. She's not really listening to a plan B. She is so gung-ho on Suri. I think when you're not adaptable early on, that is the biggest crime you could commit in Survivor. Because even though this is an individual game, if you are stuck on one thing and you cannot really veer off that path, you look kind of egotistical and like you are only in it for yourself. Granted, that is the reality. Everyone's only in it for themselves, but you can't really show you are. That's kind of the beauty of all these shows. You have to kind of play to people's emotions, and you have to kind of pick your spots when you want to push your narratives and push your people you want to get out, and then when you have to take a back seat. Early on, you kind of have to gauge everyone else's opinion. That's what you have to do. You can throw out a name, you can give some reasoning, but you cannot be that assertive. She was too assertive. I think Joe was turned off by it. I think Emily and Christian were turned off by it. And I think that ultimately did her in. But Mike, it didn't have to do her in because we did have an immunity challenge here where things could have happened, right?
Yeah.
We get this immunity challenge, which is classic modern Survivor. It's like a big obstacle course. You got to do all these things. You got to go through the mud. Yeah. You gotta climb a wall. You got to throw like a ball or a coconut. You know, you gotta climb something. You got to do a puzzle. Yeah. You know, you got to do all this, right? So
prototypical. Yeah.
You know, it's pretty close throughout. We get is it the monkey claw or the monkey paw?
Monkey claw, I think. Oh God, now you have me tricked.
Monkeys don't have claws though, right?
They don't. I don't know what they call it. Is it I don't know. I gotta know. I mean, Jeff said it, but I don't see.
Look it up. I'm gonna call it a monkey paw. I think it's more of a paw than a claw. But regardless, it's been around for a while. It's kind of like an older school thing that they used to do. Pretty simple. You just kind of cornhole it in. It's not really supposed to be difficult. Our girl Suri looked like she has never seen one before. And this is why, you know, if you want to say that Jenna Lewis had a point, this kind of helps your argument. Because in a way, Suri understands her weaknesses. She understands she is not good at comps, right? So if you're Suri, what I would not do right out of the gates is stink it up in one of these comps and risk everyone else's lives in this game. I would just take a back seat. And if you mess up, you mess up. If you mess up a little bit, it's fine. I would not be the center of attention like this entire leg of this obstacle course and just stink. And she was terrible. It was brutal to watch. It looked like she had never thrown one of those things before. It got to a point where I was a little bit confused why they didn't sub her out. I don't know if they couldn't or what was up with that.
Can I just, as a Suri apologist, can I just say Suri is good at puzzles. She's not she's terribly talented.
I think she's very good at puzzles.
She is. Like, that is like her strong suit. She actually is a good puzzle maker. The issue is she's on a try with Emily and Christian, and they were assigned to do the puzzle at the end. They didn't have nearly enough time to make up for it because of Suri's, obviously, her bad performance in the challenge. But ultimately, Suri if she was in a try with less brainiacs and less puzzle solvers, she would have been on the puzzle, and she would have never been exposed to the bad, you know, I mean, she was bad tosses. It was bad everything by Suri. But it was, I mean, what do you want to do?
Did she have to do it, though?
Why did they assign her to do that? She's not good at that. We know Suri's not good at that. Like,
Right.
to me, it was like, okay, sorry,
My
but I
thing
don't
is, if you're Suri, you got to speak up. You're like, hey, like we know my strength.
that's not my thing.
I really think Suri could have done it with Christian. Christian is like a next level puzzle guy. I don't think you need two of those. I think they almost get in each
I had
other's
Christian
way.
doing this, yes.
Yes, and it looked as such. Like I would have had either Emily or Christian do this. You only need one of those puzzle beasts to do the puzzle. You kind of need someone to supplement them. I think two puzzle beasts doing one puzzle, you step on each other's toes.
And
it
you
gets
saw
too
the other
confusing.
tribes, it was mostly just one person doing it, the other person was handing them pieces. So it was not like they
Yes,
were
I think
both
that's what you got to
putting
do.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
Camilla got at puzzles. Like Genevieve
Yeah.
was pretty awesome at them as well. Like that's
Yeah.
what you got to do.
100%.
But that wasn't even the weirdest part of this entire challenge. It is we get to the final part of going up the wall. It's like American Ninja Warrior, the last final wall. You got to scale it, and it's all you. There's no one helping you. It's you got to scale it yourself with your feet. Kyle is assigned to do this for Vatu. And I'm like, oh, it's Kyle. He's got this.
He's
But
great.
Kyle has bulked up quite a bit since the last time he played. It's very obvious. He's carrying a lot more weight. And he's not necessarily as nimble as he was when he played a few seasons ago. And he's kind of out of gas because that's what happens when you're a bigger guy. Sometimes you get out of gas. He was a lot of gas. And so he's trying to go up. He's exerting a lot of energy. And he falls really awkwardly and he is limping. I thought he sprained his ankle on impact. That's what I
Really?
thought it was
Okay.
initially when I watched him land. But then when I saw him hobble around, I was like, oh, did he like pop his ACL? Is this an Achilles? What did he do here? Because again, he's kind of hobbling around. It didn't look like it was just a sprained ankle at that point. But then they cleared him. So I was like, okay, like he's got to be fine if they cleared him. Like, because we're used to sports backgrounds where you know instantly if a guy tears his ACL, pops his Achilles, we just know that instantly, right? Like some guys are in pain, some guys are just like it's out. Like that's what we're used to. So when they cleared him, I'm like, that's the end of that. Okay, and we keep moving. Eventually, Q kind of just has this superhuman effort where Kyle's like dragging himself on top of Q, and Q's just standing there
Like a human
taking
ladder.
it.
Yeah.
Kyle's like humongous human being, and Q is just standing there getting like walked all over. It is really impressive. They get Kyle up, and they're kind of an amazing
They
shape
win.
after that.
Yeah.
They win. Shout out to Vatu. Genevieve on the puzzle was great. Colby was good throughout. Pretty much everyone in that tribe played their role perfectly.
Surprised me.
So, yeah, it surprised me too. And Colo were dominant throughout. I mean, Camilla just is next level on these puzzles. And
It
I
was
wonder
over
if
in
other
20
people
seconds.
were kind of taking stock of how fast she finished that. And they ultimately get the prize as well. For Sela, it's Suri. She holds them up. They never have a chance. You think maybe for a second, Christian, if he puts the superhuman effort. But when it's a puzzle of that size, when you're trying to make up time, you're just fumbling over yourself, you have no chance. And it's Sela who does not get it done. And Mike, heading out of that challenge, to me, it's pretty obvious. We're down to 3 people who could go out first. It's Suri, it's Ozzy, it's Jenna Lewis, and it's all OGs, and it kind of sucks. There was like half a second. You're like, is there going to be a band against Savannah? Is
I was
that going to
thinking.
happen?
Yeah, maybe.
But no, it's those 3. It is definitively those 3. When you were watching this real time, what were you making of these people on the chopping block?
I was petrified as a Suri fan. My heart's going a million miles an hour. Again, I knew that the second she stepped on the beach, she would be a target. But when they lost the first immunity and she's the reason why, I'm like, okay, Suri is in the hot seat. I mean, justifiably in the hot seat. And I was preparing for this, but I was like, okay, can she work her magic? I knew initially it'd be one of the OGs. And you look at it, it's okay, Jenna or Suri. It's the only 2 names you've heard. I was hoping hopefully Savannah. They're just like, can we just get rid of Savannah? She's new. We don't know anything about her. But no. It was ultimately a Suri and Ozzy versus Jenna thing. We get the Suri and Ozzy thing that I really liked, but it felt like to me this was an obvious one of the OGs is going to go home. And it's because the people running this tribe X are the ones right now in the middle. It's like the geeks. It's Emily and Christian and Devin, who I think all had fantastic episodes. They all were great. They're kind of the ones. They have a big nucleus. 3.
By the way,
kind
of have Joe with them, it looks like.
It looks like they pulled Joe. Joe wants to work with Christian, and he wants to work. I mean, they've kind of have like a 3 or 4 that's kind of running the tribe, and that's why when those guys were not in on Savannah, I'm like, okay, Savannah's safe because they're not throwing her name out. And I
By the way, Mike, the best part, they know it. They know they're running it, and I think that's going to help them. So Savannah, she's an outsider, but they understand, like, we can rope her in. She can kind of be a mercenary. Like, she can be this kind of, like, satellite member of this alliance, and she can kind of go after a Suri, go after an Ozzy, because I believe they are next. Like, I think they're going to be the next target. I think that's only natural. Because right now, if you're this alliance, the only people that can go is Savannah, Suri, and Ozzy. And that's 2/3 of those three. And one of them was just the heavy target entering Tribal, besides Jenna. It was pretty much, it felt like at the end of the day, it boiled down between Suri and Jenna. Do you want the person that's terrible at comps, or do you want the person kind of causing chaos? And the way I took it, listening to them talk, it was, if Jenna stays, she's going to be playing hard the entire time. Who knows what name she's going to throw out? It's just going to be chaos.
Christian pointed that out.
Three, we can just get her out next time. If she stinks at another comp, we can literally just move on to her, which I think the order of operations was very important here, how they did this, because they're like, it doesn't really make sense to get rid of Ozzy. He's such a good comp piece. Like, what is the point? Like, this has not been done for a reason because it's just stupid. Like, we want to win these comps. We can afford one more loss because we have Suri as the safety valve, the backup plan, right? So if I'm a Suri apologist, I'm a little bit worried how these events transpired, because obviously, like, we get to immunity and, like, we get to tribal, excuse me, and Christian's talking about, like, you know, past relationships will matter, which is kind of obvious, right? This is a returning season. They always do. Ozzy's talking about how he's playing a different game, which, you know, Ozzy, I appreciate how many times you said it. I just want to see it a little bit more. We get glimpses.
You didn't like the new Ozzy today? I thought it was fantastic. They had one of the better episodes in the entire show. By the way, yeah,
felt
go ahead.
Forced. Felt a little bit forced. It's one of those things, Mike. Show don't tell. I don't need you to tell me you're the new Ozzy 15 times. How many times did he tell us he was the new Ozzy? And I get it's TV. I get you have to play it up.
But you don't think he showed us? What does he do?
Bits and pieces. Mike, what does he do when Jenna Lewis comes up and says Suri? What's his reaction? He shits his pants. He doesn't even know what to say.
Well, here's the thing. Because before that, Ozzy does what I've been asking him to do for 20 seasons. He links up with Suri.
Yes,
he finally says, hey, you know what? I need help in this game. I'm bad at this game. You're good. I'm bad at what you're good at. You're good at what I'm bad at. Help me through this game.
We've said this numerous times, by the way. It made no sense. Like, if you want a flaw in Suri's game, it is why she hasn't worked with more comp beasts. Like, Parvati, sure, but she loves Parvati. Like, that's like her Survivor best friend. So, like, that's a given. Everyone else, like, you know, she's really tried to work with, like, the woman and the people she's known prior, which I get. But if you're Suri, you need a comp beast ahead of you. You need to kind of, like, have a shield and work in the shadows. If you're just Suri kind of, you know, doing your Suri magic in front of everyone's faces, eventually someone's going to get sick of it. If you had a comp beast in front of you, maybe they take that person out first, and then you have more time to, you know, work your magic.
And that's why I thought that Ozzy linking up with Suri, like, Jenna really had no shot. Jenna had no connections with Ozzy previously. For her to go up to him and throw Suri's name out, would she just expect that Ozzy would be on board? Because, like, they have no working relationship before. Like, Jenna and Ozzy don't. So I thought for Ozzy, finally having that scene with Suri, and by the way, not just having the scene being like, hey, let's work together this season. He legitimately shows to us that Suri is his ride or die, because he immediately tells her that he has an extra vote, which, by the way, will be important if they are to lose the next challenge, because you might be thinking, oh, they're down 4-3. It's, you know, it's Savannah on the chopping block, it's Suri on the chopping block, it's Ozzy. Well, Ozzy has another vote, so he could absolutely change the game with that massive advantage that he won by losing the supply challenge. So I thought Ozzy had a fantastic episode. By the way, he also has an idol in his pocket now. So Ozzy is looted up after the first episode, and he's able to tell Suri this information. Suri is someone that if you're going to tell her this information, you better hope that she doesn't cut your throat.
Mike, very important, though, and we'll get to the idol later. He can't share it. So if Suri is in trouble, he cannot really save Suri. He can save himself. He can use the extra vote to try to help Suri, but he cannot save Suri, which I think could be an issue. I thought he had a decent episode.
Well, he helped. I thought he had a really good episode. But, I mean, this is good. I actually like that we're disagreeing on this. I think he helped save Suri tonight by pushing for Jenna. Because with Jenna, you just mentioned, he kind of shit his pants when Jenna, brought her up Suri's name to him. Old Ozzy would have told me if Cerie's on the chopping block and they still have bad blood because she's voted him out twice, he would have just been like, yes, let's vote out Cerie. I want to get my revenge. That would have been immature Ozzy, thinking short-sighted Ozzy, and he didn't do that. He's like, wait a second, let me try something else. Let me actually try to work with Cerie. Maybe it'll work for me. I've lost 4 times. I failed 4 different times. Maybe let's do something different. And he actually chooses Cerie as his ride or die. I figured he'd immediately run to Joe and be like, hey, guys, let's me and you, loyalty thing. I'm like, Ozzy, boring. What he doesn't do that. As a matter of fact, Joe's even throwing Ozzy's name out. It's like, oh my God, this is incredible. They're not playing the way I thought they would play. They're actually changing it up. So I actually liked Ozzy's approach by telling Cerie he's got the extra advantage. Cerie can now use that. Cerie is so good at using things. Again, like Jenna said, if you give Cerie an inch, she will take a mile. So I think Cerie and Ozzy linking up, by the way, it's super dangerous if you're on the island playing against them. Like I can completely agree where if you're Savannah, if you're Joe, if you're Emily, and you're looking at that twosome, you're saying, oh my God, we got to split Ozzy and Cerie up. If they're actually working together, it's almost like when Johnny Bananas and Wes teamed up on the challenge. It's like, well, you can't let that happen. They're like rivals.
That's kind of my issue, Mike. It's too threatening. It's too obvious. It's too threatening. And I think everyone clocked it too. They're like, look, we've seen Ozzy play. We've seen Ozzy play quite a few times. The tape's out. The fact that he's totally different now, and this is kind of why I was like, look, I don't think he had nearly as good of an episode as you think he did. Oh. Because everyone saw right through what he was doing. They know he was trying to change. But when you're trying to change so rapidly and do such like a turn of what you were prior, I wouldn't say it's inauthentic, because I think he is trying to like do what he's setting out to. But I think it's almost, intimidating in a way. It's kind of scary. Like if you can adapt this much to like really understand what you need to do to win, that is threatening to me, right? Like if you can change your entire personality to fit what you have to do, that's worrisome. You can't really deny that either.
No, I'm not denying it. I think Ozzy very well could be an early boot, and I will still applaud him for changing. He might not have a chance because he's so threatening with Cerie.
I agree with that.
He gets picked off because he's so threatening.
He had no chance the way he played prior.
Yeah,
he might have no chance the way he's playing now, and that could literally just be his name's Ozzy, and he's been on the show so many times.
Exactly, he's
right?
a fifth-time player.
This could be his ceiling. His ceiling could be a few episodes. He had to do something different. I actually agree with you there, 100%.
But you agree
he had to do something different.
If he steps foot on the beach and teams up with Joe, or does some strong alliance, we're going to win challenges and pick off the week and vote out Cerie, that would have been the same Ozzy we've seen 4 times already, and it probably would have gotten him nowhere. So
it could have gotten him further in the game from a placement standpoint, but it would not have helped his winning.
He would have been a background
whatsoever.
Character like he would have been in Game Changers. He would have been a background character. Like it would have been the same Ozzy. So I actually like it. Maybe he's an early boot, but I don't think it's an indictment on his game. I think he's actually playing the correct game. It maybe is just too threatening with a tribe of really, really intelligent people. I mean, this is a tribe. We have Emily is really cerebral. Christian can make great reads. Devins immediately spots out that Savannah's lying immediately. He's never met the girl before. There are some cerebral schemers on this island with Ozzy and Cerie who have played it again 5 times. So you can't
Mike, you're going to laugh at this. When I tutor each week, I say that's a good answer. It's not a great answer. I say that all the time. It's one of X's catchphrase. It was a good attempt by Ozzy to change. It wasn't a great attempt. Do you know what the great attempt would have been? You look up with Cerie, but you don't make it so freaking obvious. You try to connect with like a Joe. Maybe you even do like the old school playbook. You try to pretend you're that person still, but you have Cerie in the background. And then you kind of almost let Joe try to be the mediator between the two, where Joe brings up Cerie's name and Ozzy's like, yeah, like we're friends. You play it off. You don't make it so blatant. So that's why I think it was a good attempt, and I appreciate that he tried to change, but he was still lacking in key areas because, look, let's face it, he is who he is. He can't, totally on, what is this, his 5th time, right? On his 5th time, just become Mike White. It's just not going to happen, right? Like, it just can't happen. So I think it was a good attempt, not a great attempt. But, Mike, all that matters is, when he's at Tribal, it seemed like people were receptive to what he had to say, right? People appreciated that he was like, I'm trying to change this because this is the 50th season. I'm trying to put my best step forward, and the Ozzy and Cerie camp won out. It is a 7-1 vote against Jenna, and she gets a standing ovation. She's pissed. She makes a comment afterwards that I hope they lose the rest of the challenges, and they very well might, but look, Jenna Lewis, I thought it was symbolic. I appreciated that she was here. I love that they got her out. This was clearly like her last time, I think. Like, I don't know. We'll see how many returning seasons we have. Who knows, right? She was a person that I was really happy that they got, where I felt like, okay, this is a big deal. Because if they weren't able to get anyone from like season one or All Stars or something of that, like a pillar early season of the show, it would have felt hollow, right? So the fact that they got Jenna Lewis, the fact they got Colby Donaldson, like these people who we say their full names because they earn it, right? They earn that respect. I appreciated that. So it sucks. Look, it sucks. But the first person being voted out being the season one vet, I think it's symbolic because at the end of the day, Survivor's supposed to be like life. The game is supposed to progress, right? And if you don't adapt, which she tried, I guess, but she wasn't able to, you get voted out. That's just how it goes. So I really liked it. She was this one figure. She's eating rats on her season, and it was look, it was hardly Survivor. They were making a mockery of the tribal councils. They didn't care if they got voted out. It was like halfway through that season, they finally realized, like, oh, this is a game, and this kind of sucks when we lose these
Strategy.
people that were, yeah, they finally got some strategy under their belt, right?
It was a different game.
So, look, I thought it was a beautiful moment. It sucked for her, but I liked the send off. I liked that everyone stood up. It was unspoken. No one had to say stand up and clap. They knew that there was a legend amongst them, and I thought it was great. It'd be even better if like we got a Sari or an Ozzy or a coach, like one of these other pillars to win the game, right? That'd be sick if we could have that bookend where like here's one end of the spectrum, here's the other end, and this is Survivor and this is beautiful. But what did you think of this moment?
I would have been really, really upset if Sari or Ozzy went home on the first episode. Like, again, I need them on my screen. I wasn't so, like, yearning for Jenna because, like I said, when last time she played, I wasn't even watching her on my screen. So I wasn't that attached to Jenna like I am. Again, I'm a Sari apologist, and apparently I'm also an Ozzy apologist. So I needed them both to survive this first episode. I needed them first to at least survive the premiere episode. For
Hey, I
Jenna,
did too.
okay, we both were rooting for the same people. That's what I'm saying. Like, I like Jenna. Don't get me wrong. I like everyone on this tribe or on this cast. Like, that's why it's gonna be really difficult. Like Winners at War, I liked everyone on the cast, and yet all my favorites were exiting early, like Parvati and Boston. But I still had one of my favorites, Tony, win, and one of my other favorites, Jeremy, went far, and Michelle went far. So it's like you're gonna get these things where like people you like are going against each other. But I thought it was very symbolic that again, the first one in, she even mentioned it. I'm the first one in, first one out. I started this show 25 years ago. I'm coming back for this last two Raw. It's kind of like sports where it's like, okay, Father Time has passed you by. In her case, this game has kind of passed her by a little bit. Again, she hasn't played since before there were immunity idols, hidden immunity idols. Now there's beware advantages and boomerang idols. It's just a different game. So I kind of figured for Jenna this would be a tough one. First out is kind of what happens when you throw Sari's name out there. It's just one of those things where it's like, if you throw Sari's name out there, you better not miss because it's probably going to come back on you. And I thought it was a really good battle between those two women. Ultimately, Sari and her alliance, even though she didn't really form any alliances, it's just the people that were in the tribe ultimately said, hey, let's keep Sari in this game.
It felt like a heavyweight fight. And I think that it sucks, but I appreciate her effort. Like, you could be one of those OGs and come in and kind of make a mockery of the current game and get voted out that way. That's not what happened. She tried to adapt to these people. And we've seen the come out hot strategy work a few times. It's definitely more detrimental than it has worked in the past. But I think, she thought maybe that everyone plays fast now. If I can play the fastest, they might either A, respect that, or B, I can kind of pull one over on them. I didn't hate it. Like, she clearly was ready for the moment, and that's all you can ask, the fact that she was ready for the moment. So, shout out Jenna Lewis. I appreciated our brief time on the screen together. Mike, we get this, like, bizarre other journey here, which, like, I texted you immediately when I caught up to this point.
Ugh.
I thought we were done with this. I really thought we were done with this. At no point in this episode was I ready for a journey. So it felt like it was a kick to the nuts when I saw the boat come and I knew it was happening. It's like, okay. But at least I liked who was on said journey. It was Colby, it was Sav, and it was Mike White. And, it's a weird trio. We get to the beach. I'm immediately annoyed because we have to do the pull rocks thing where like one person is going to be sent back for no reason. Yeah, why can't they just also participate? I don't understand. Like, you could do that comp with 3 people and you could just give the other two people like votes, or just one person loses it, whatever. If you
And
want to
by
do
the
a
way,
journey so bad,
that wasn't even my biggest issue with that entire thing. Like Mike White being sent there and sent right back wasn't even my biggest issue. Like it was, I don't enjoy. Let me just get real quick. Let me get this off my back. I don't like the losing vote thing. I don't like it. I think that it's your only voice in this game. Your vote is your voice. Who is voting on people losing votes? At the very least, make it a choice for them to compete and not. If you want to risk your vote, compete in the challenge. If you don't want to risk your vote, don't compete in the challenge. But just to have a rock draw of like,
Mike,
you have
what's
to
the
compete.
tagline of the season?
In the hands of the fans. Who voted for that?
What world would the fans have voted for A, journeys, and B, losing votes?
Neither.
Neither. And it's so forced. And I believe it was the intro video a few minutes in. It was towards the end. There was a snippet of Jeff at like a convention or something. And he mentions how the producers are out of this. There's no producers. And my mom said something along the lines of like, oh, that's cool. And I said, take that with a pinch of salt. I said it immediately.
I said the
And
exact
I
same
know
thing.
it sounded cynical,
Exactly.
but I knew I was right. I freaking knew I was right. And
Don't buy
as
that.
soon as this happened, I said, see? You see what I'm talking about?
Production.
And I'm not going to let this distract from the fact that this is a
Great episode.
all-time premiere episode. I think this is the best premiere episode this show's ever done. 50
Completely agree.
seasons. It took 50, but we're here. I will not let that take away from that fact. But if I had a gripe, it was this. It was pretty much only this, because I can deal with one lose a vote here and there. I think it's actually kind of an effective storytelling device if you do it like once or twice a season. I think it works. So I gave him a pass when Q lost his vote, because at least that was a barter. I think that was a good like storyline device.
Yeah.
There's some merit behind that, right? But then we get it again. And I am like, oh my God, what are we doing? In the fact that, look, I understand they couldn't like choose who drew rocks, or, but the fact that Colby in its
This is
same, it's no fault of their own. Q like lost a comp he didn't really ask to be in. They threw him in it, so that's annoying. And then Colby, like,
no one wanted to go. Colby's like, all right, I guess I'll
so
do it for
someone
fun.
had to go, and the OG, the father-like figure, went. So neither of them really wanted to do this. They were kind of forced upon themselves. And we talk about how Survivor, you have to be lucky. No one's won Survivor without a little luck. But at the end of the day, we and most of the super fans want this as much like a sport or like a competition as you can get it. We want this to be authentic. We want advantages, but we want them to be like minimal, right? We don't want 100. We want a few that could change things, but nothing drastically, right? And we want authentic gameplay. And this is so inauthentic. This is shoehorned in. This is like a fraud. And Savannah wins a game of Jenga. Congratulations, I guess. It's stupid. It's annoying. We've seen this time and time again. This is like the fifth one of these that we've seen. This game of Jenga. And at least it was worth something to her. It takes a while to figure out what it is, because they act like it's just the fact that she didn't lose her vote was the prize, which, like, give me a break. We've seen this too many times. And Savannah gets a block a vote, which, you know, those are okay, I guess. Like, whatever. She goes back to Sela and tries to sell the fact what Survivor tried to sell her moments ago, which, Mike, this never made any sense. When has it ever been like this? And the only time it has been like this, I believe, was the time there was like 5 of them.
Yeah.
It was a few seasons ago. There was like 5 or 6 of them, and I don't think anyone got an advantage. Just someone
It
lost
was
the
just
vote,
you kept
right?
your vote or you lost your vote. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there is a precedent of 99% of the time someone gets an advantage. So, look, I love Savannah. I didn't understand this move whatsoever. Like, who are you trying to fool?
No, Devin's immediately was like, come on. Sure.
It's one of those things I would just say, like, maybe lie about the advantage if you want. Like,
Yeah,
I have a idol. I have a...
I think Steven did that, where he lied about exactly what he had, and it ultimately didn't matter. But, like, maybe give the impression that it's a steal a vote instead of a block a vote, and it's like, oh my gosh, she can take 2 votes. I don't know. You can leverage.
Or just say, I got something really cool, but I don't want to tell anyone. Like, do something. At least admit you have something, because, like, everyone knows. And, like, in real time, Rick Devens looks at her like, what are you doing? Like, we respect you. You just won, but what are you doing? Like, we've been around the block, too.
That could bode well for my girl, Sari. Someone else has a bigger target on their back. It's already an unknown.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they have an advantage possibly they're not telling us about? let's maybe get them out of there. It's all these things will probably end up mattering. I don't like the fact that we view this as the playoffs. And in returning season, I want to see legitimate gameplay being played. And now I'm down 2 votes on Colby and Q for like what? I mean, and by the way, this is a side topic, by the way. That doesn't even really matter. Colby's handwriting on the parchment, I need to see that back on the game. So if he gets voted out early and doesn't get to write anything down on the parchment, I'm gonna be really pissed off as a guy who's played 4 times now. Let him write a name on the parchment and write his A's as a triangle, which is how he writes them. I want to see people voting. Okay, that's their only voice in this game. Why are we taking away votes early on in the game? It feels shoehorned in. It feels production heavy. And I thought we weren't going to get that much production heavy stuff this year, but we're already getting all these advantages thrown in people's faces, and it feels a little turned up by it.
The only other thing positive left in this episode was we get an idol search with Steph and Genevieve, which, by the way, we've seen a lot of this coming. Did not see that duo coming at all. I am shocked they are working together. But regardless, they seem to be like really tight, and they're looking around. Genevieve just sticks her hand in a log, and it's there. She kind of has to run away because Rizzo's in the vicinity, but eventually she finds Kyle, opens it up. It is the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. Mike, this was not as offensively bad as we thought it was.
No, I actually enjoyed this.
We were pissed about this because of the name, but in reality, I think of all the weird quirks from this episode, the twists and the losing of votes, blocking votes, this was a welcome change for me. I liked this because it wasn't like super ridiculous. Like, they've done things like sort of kind of like this in the past. Like, we've seen like legacy advantage. We've seen the 2 idols that have to become one. Like, you have to combine them. We've seen stuff like this. So there is a past of this happening. But the boomerang idol, we've never seen something like this, where you give someone else an idol, and if they get voted out, you get that idol. So it's a little annoying because you did all the hard work. I think maybe my only gripe with it would be it should have came in a different form. Like, maybe there should have been a journey reward, right? Like, that would have made a little bit more sense rather than finding the idol yourself. Like, that should be yours. That makes no sense. But regardless, we get what we're given. And the options, all 3 of them stink, in my opinion. They're Jonathan, they're Devins, they're Tiffany, and they're Ozzy. Well, I guess we have 4. Tiffany was kind of mentioned for a half second. I don't think she's real option, right?
Definitely was like, I don't know anything about her, so why would you give it to her? I don't know.
Yeah, right? Her name was thrown out, but it wasn't serious. Jonathan, I think, was a fine option. Like, he was okay. Devins made no sense. He's the idol guy. Why the hell would you give the idol guy the idol? He's going to use it. We have that precedent. And then there's Ozzy, who, if you've learned anything from this episode,
they pan back to Micronesia. He got blindsided by Serene with an idol in his pocket.
He is the new Ozzy. He's said it himself. I'm sure he said it pregame, right? He's Oscar now, right? So therefore, what do you think Ozzy's going to do out of precaution in one of these episodes? Probably going to use that idol, even if he doesn't need to use it. It's good till Final 5. He's probably going to use it prematurely. Maybe it helps him, maybe he doesn't. But I guarantee you he's probably going to attempt to use that thing. So
he's not going to go home with it in his pocket. That's the goal.
Probably not.
Right. The goal is advantage. The reason why I like the strategy point of it is you're trying to will it to somebody who will be blindsided with it in their pocket so that you get it. So you're not giving it to somebody who is idle happy, idle trigger. You want to almost give it to like a Rizzo. I mean, but of course she doesn't know that. But it's one of those things where you actually, and he's on her own tribe, so she couldn't even do that anyways. But it's one of those things where she's assuming that Ozzy will once again get played and get blindsided by Sari probably because on the same tribe. They're like, okay, maybe Ozzy gets blindsided with an idol in his pocket, and that's who I'm going to give it to. I was like, of the choices, I didn't hate Ozzy because it's happened before. Devins made no sense. I would have gone with somebody maybe a little bit. I would have gone with like a Savannah almost, like a winner.
X's options, Savannah, because she was a winner. She doesn't look. They don't know much about her, but I would kind of take my chances with someone I don't know.
Target. Yeah.
Right. So Savannah, an option. I would have thought about Coach because he's so kind of in his own head. I would have thought about Jonathan, kind of the similar vibes in a way. I would have considered a D because again, another winner maybe thinks like she can handle it.
I can do it. Yeah.
I just wouldn't have thought of anyone that has done this already, Mike, because you are so petrified of doing it again. Aubrey, theoretically, if she was an option, would have never crossed my mind because she's done it already. These people are going to be extra careful, and even if they play it too early, doesn't really matter because then you don't get it back. So, like, look, it might heighten their threat level, but then what does that do to you? The ultimate goal is to get it back. You can be in the business of raising their threat levels, and like that could help maybe make them go home with it on in their pocket. I get that, but at the end of the day, all you're focused on is trying to get it back, and giving it to Ozzy is not going to help you get it back. I'm sorry.
No, I'm kind of with you there. I think I would have given it to Savannah, Coach. Probably, I could see a world
Coach or
where
D for me, Mike. If it was my
yeah,
choice, Coach or D, probably a coin flip.
I wouldn't have hated a Christian. Like, throw it at Christian and see, because last time he had an idol, he did play it correctly. But maybe that holding on to it, I'm going to play it correctly, will actually work against you this time. Like, I would
Actually, yes, you're right. I would rather go
for
with
that
someone that
than
like
an
kind of
yeah,
had a master stroke with the idol rather than someone who
right.
like kind of
Got
pissed their
duped.
pants and went
Got
home
duped.
with
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Whereas a Devins like is someone who finds them all the time.
You
Like
get in it.
Devins, theoretically like a Rizzo could do that, even though they don't know that. But regardless,
Yeah.
like
But
not on my
Devin could find
radar.
one on his own. So you don't want to give him another one. Like, you don't want to do that and risk that.
No.
No, I'm with you there.
And he's gonna use them because he always finds idols. So he'll just say, "Yeah, I'll use this one early because I'll just find another one." It's the big deal.
By the way, Joe would have been another interesting one. Put Joe with an idol and see if he actually has some strategic,
Good one,
wherewithal when to play
good
it.
one.
Like,
Someone who's never even had one before.
no, Eva
Good one.
had it, but he never really knew what to do with it. It was more like, okay, well, we're in the power position. We don't even need to use it. But he could be one who could theoretically be blindsided by having an idol in his pocket if he was to tell the wrong person. Say, I don't know, but Genevieve ultimately handing it to Ozzy, she's banking on past mistakes happening again.
So I texted you like 12 minutes before the show ended, and I was like, I did record the news after this in case this goes over. Like, Survivor's pre-recorded. I'm a little confused right now. We're kind of in what feels like the middle of an episode. Like,
Yeah,
I'm very confused right now. And then we see Jeff on the boat, and even at this point, like, yeah, Kyle's legs hurt, but I'm still thinking like,
really?
Mr. Beast is this gonna change the game in some way? I was thinking bigger picture here. Like, I was like, could this game get bigger? Could we like have a surprise guest, like a new person? I don't know. That's where my head was at,
Well, when
right?
you saw Dr. Joe, you knew what this was about.
Then I saw Dr. Joe,
So,
and I knew where this was going. Because they did this at the end of the episode, you kind of knew the result, but God, it sucks watching it anyway.
sucks.
Which was Kyle's leg. They're like, look, we've seen the leg. You told us it feels better, but you can't look at everything straight up moments after it happened. We need a little bit more time without machines and all of that. Which, again, from our sports background, that's not what's been told to us our entire lives. A lot of these people, both the athlete and like the trainers, they know immediately. Now, it could be different because Kyle's injury was more of a sports-like injury that doesn't happen to the average Joe, right? It just doesn't. So perhaps that's why. But regardless, we do some exercises. We don't really know what it is. And then all of a sudden, I look at my mom and it's like, that's his Achilles. Like, I knew what it was. I've seen this a few times. This is getting really, really popular in sports. It's happened a few times in football. It's happened a ton in basketball recently. I don't know why it's happening. There are so many theories on why the uptick of Achilles has happened. I never thought I'd see an Achilles injury in Survivor, but they do this really fascinating exercise where you basically pinch the nerve of your calf. And we've seen this, by the way, too, where a calf strain leads to your Achilles being popped. And so basically it connects to one each other. So we see Dr. Joe goes up and he's pinching the calf muscle. And he's like, if those toes move, that means it's in place. So he does it with his good leg. He's like, see, you see the toe move. And they do it with the other leg, and his toes like barely moved, like barely. There's a little sign of life, not much. And the conclusion was the Achilles was gone. That was the conclusion. And it sucks because Kyle looked like he had a game ahead of him.
Again.
Like, of all the winners, Savannah on the outs because she's the most recent winner. Just, no one really knows anything about her. D, so dominant, so incredibly overpowering.
Huge target.
She's a good talker. She's really good at challenges. She's just kind of in your face with it. Kyle almost has this like
Aura.
heartwarming charisma with him, right? Like it's almost like he's this big threat, but he's so nice you don't even care. He's like so inconceivably nice and such a good guy. He had a good alliance with Genevieve, with Q. He ropes Q in with Stephanie, with
He was
Colby.
with everybody. He had, I thought, the best episode. I was gonna say stock up for him the most because
Outside of Coach, he had the best episode in my opinion. I completely agree with you. It was them two neck and neck.
well, here's the thing, X, in this spot he's in as a previous winner, the most recent winner in their minds, he's on the beach and Genevieve comes up to him with an idol. And boomerang idol. She's like, I got it. Look at me. I found it with Stephanie. Q goes up to him and says, hey man, I lost my vote. Everyone is going to
Colby goes up to him. Hey, I want to work with you.
Colby, exactly right. The first person Colby talks to outside of Stephanie is Kyle. Hey man, I just watched your season. I love your season. So Kyle is like the coach of their tribe. Everyone's going to Kyle saying, hey, I want to work with you. I liked your season. And that's the
And the more impressive thing is he's the most recent winner in their minds.
I know.
You pointed it out. And I said numerous times, I love Kyle. He's one of my favorite New York people. I wouldn't have cast him for this season.
It's such
he
a tough,
was
yeah.
too good and it's too fresh. I wouldn't have cast any winners. We talked about this multiple times. If you're going to cast winners, and maybe they'll do this eventually, if you do like a fans versus favorite, like half winners, half fans, like you just need a chunk of winners. Maybe you have a winners tribe. I don't know. You can't just have 3 winners because we know what's going to happen.
Tribe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid. But somehow, some way, Kyle shed that, which I thought was impossible. The other two did not.
Shocked.
But somehow Kyle just did it. And for him to go out like this, God, man, it sucks because maybe it doesn't like, maybe nothing that he did in this episode would have helped him in the long run. Maybe he would have had like a good run for winner and he would have kind of outshot his average here. But, you know, he already won. Right. We probably know the writing on the wall is eventually would have been voted out, but we just don't know. We didn't see it. So it feels unfulfilling. For a guy like Kyle, he's played twice. He won once, and it was not really in doubt after like the final 6-ish range, right? He was good for a while. And then the second time, he has the most dominant 3 hours you can possibly have, right?
Unbelievable.
And he doesn't get voted out. So Kyle, he's a shoo-in to come back, in my opinion. He's only 31, so he has a lot of life ahead of him, a lot of Survivor life. And he is in my opinion, an all-time player. I don't think you could say otherwise.
I was going to say, yeah, we talk about sports so much with like legacies on the line. Him coming back as fresh as it is as a winner, he had a chance really, and the first 3 hours were complete dominance. He had a chance to actually enter into one of those, like you're talking about, all-time echelon of players. And I think him going out this way, actually, I view it as better. He didn't get voted out. He was running things in camp. It's actually like, it's almost like one of those asterisks in sports where like, oh my God, this guy popped his Achilles. Can you imagine if he didn't go down, they would have done this. It's like the what if factor of, oh my gosh, Kyle was actually running the game. He had shed all of the winner, shtick that we thought would be really bad, a stain on him, if you will. He got all of that off of him and he was running the camp. Stephanie, Colby, Genevieve, Q, eating out of his hands in the 3 hours we saw. And it looked like he was good with everybody. I mean, it was really impressive. And then he gets taken out this way. It's like, it's gut wrenching. It's like in sports where we're not satisfied. We're not fulfilled. There's always an asterisk. It's like, well, what if he stayed in? What if he didn't pop his Achilles? And if that is indeed the injury, it's like one of those sliding doors where we'll never know how dominant this run could have been coming off of a win. And it could have theoretically put him into conversations like all-time stuff. I think he's an all-time player because I think he had one of the single most dominating wins in the new era, similar to D. But he wasn't able to follow that up with a true, legit season coming back because this is cut short in one episode.
There's no way you could argue against the fact that if you are going to win and have one episode in another season,
this was
that you could possibly be better than Kyle. It's impossible.
No,
like this is the greatest run without being voted out that I've seen in some time. It's really, really good stuff. And look, it sucks. It's one episode at the end of the day. But it's 4 days in real time, right? And he was in complete control. And, 4 days is...
Yeah, what is this, day 3, day 4? And he played, I mean, that's...
It's nearly 20% of the season, Mike.
I know. Well, here's the thing. He played nearly a flawless 26-day season in 48. You can just chalk up 30 days of phenomenal Survivor of never getting voted out. That's impressive stuff. Like, by the way, on a returnee season, to have that kind of pull that a coach had on Kilo, that's really impressive from a guy who I thought Similarly, I thought Charlie, because he didn't win, would have this kind of effect of like everyone wants to work with Charlie. Kyle did win, and everyone wants to work with Kyle still, and not immediately vote him out like the biggest threat on the island, like he might actually be. That was so impressive in just a 3 hour span.
And maybe it was tribe luck. Maybe it was only Vatu. Maybe if he's on
Maybe,
another tribe, it doesn't go as well. But
maybe, yeah.
whatever. Mike, we're an hour 40 in here. We gotta kind of head home here, but we do this every time. This is our thing. Stock up, stock down. But I want to do it different. We have 3 tribes, obviously. There are 22 people left now. We're down to 22. I want a person that's in a better position than you thought, in a worse position than you thought on each tribe. Let's start with Sela, and we'll go back and forth here. Better than you thought.
Ooh, it's hard to already outperform what I thought, but I think Christian's in a really good spot. I really think he's in a great spot in this game. I did not think that he would immediately be as, I mean, we saw him in David vs. Goliath. He got along with a wrestler. He got along with every walk of life, but he's not only with the nerds. I think, I say the nerds, Emily and Devins, who are, I think he's also going to be good with the Ozzies and the Joes. I think those big, beefy guys want a Christian, A, for these challenges because he's a brainiac and he's super smart and cerebral. I think they want to work with those guys this season. I don't think they want to get rid of all those strategic threats immediately. So I think Christian's in a great spot with almost everyone on the tribe. I think even Suri, he mentioned wanting to work with Suri. He's like, I can nurture a relationship with Suri. It's all about stories. This season is all about stories. A Christian wants to work with these storytellers, players. I think he's in a great spot with everyone on this tribe in particular. And then this tribe stock down. I mean, it was a tough episode for Suri. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I'm not down on Suri, but it's she's gonna bounce back.
I'm gonna go Devins for up. I think when your seasons look, his season's kind of a mixed bag. Like some people like it, some people can't stand it. It's one of those, right? Very polarizing season. When you're that much of an icon of a season like that, usually people think of you in a way that I think Devins just somehow, because he's so charming, just kind of evades. So the fact that he was kind of in the middle of everything, I liked it. So I'm going to give him the stock up there. Down is obviously Surrey. Like I thought maybe, because of all the preseason stuff, everyone loving her. I think she had the highest approval rating. That could be wrong. I think Ozzy was 2, Surrey was 1. So the fact that Surrey was 1 and had this rough of a showing out of the gate, that's gotta concern you. What about over on Kalo? Up.
Oh, a stock up. I mean, it's probably coach is the right answer here. Uh,
Yeah.
well, outside of coach, I think you're gonna say coach too. I think that weirdly, I don't hate Jonathan's episode. I think it was better than I thought. I mean, I didn't have that much expectation. I mean, I knew Jonathan would dominate the challenges, but seeing him have conversations, seeing him actually arrange and get done a handshake deal with Coach, seeing him talk to Mike White on the beach while they're doing yoga. He's talking more than he did in 42. Like 42, he was just big buff guy that's dominating challenges, but he wasn't really having that much say in like the actual talks around camp. It wasn't like he
Right.
was leading things per se. Maybe he won't lead things on this tribe either with Coach here, but I think he had a good episode. It's obviously Coach.
For me, it's Coach, obviously. But honestly, this is a weird one because we hardly saw him, but I think I could sell you on this. Charlie's the best when he's in the background, when you kind of don't realize he's there, and then he makes his move. I think the fact that he's kind of on the periphery, but he's getting like some attention from Chrissy, I think, had an interaction with him. Coach had an interaction with him, obviously. Mike White kind of like looked at him a little bit. So I like that people are like, Charlie can be worked with. I like that for him. That's what I wanted to see out of him. So the fact that we got that, I got to throw that out. Stock down, I love her. She's one of my favorites. Camilla, you gotta branch out. You gotta branch out. You cannot fall into this trap of working with the new era women. I like all of these new era women. I like Tiffany. I like Dee. I like Camilla. If all of you are going to survive, you can't just work together. You can't do it.
No, I'm with you. If I had to go stock down, I probably would say D or Camilla. And this is not a fault of anyone. D is not at fault here. I just think that I love that Charlie's on this tribe with D, who is a winner. I think we view this tribe as having 2 winners. I mean, we view Charlie as a winner, just didn't actually win. D as the actual winner. I think it's
Low
great.
key, Mike, you can make an argument for 3 because Coach is right there too.
100%. Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm talking about new era winners.
New era, yeah.
Honestly, Chrissy, as far as the shoehorn
Yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
whatever. But the point is, Charlie's in a great spot because there's another dangerous winner on this island. And he's not actually a winner, even though we kind of view he is. I think D, just because, there's conversations already happening. I mentioned Chrissy already throwing D's name out. Mike White being like, yeah, D's pretty dangerous. people already are kind of aware that D is very dangerous. Jonathan as well. So I would say D stock down just because, word is getting around that she's a dangerous player. That's something she can do about it. But as far as like Camilla, super, super obvious water well trio talk with the girls. It's like, Camilla, by the way, I know she hated her season. She got fourth place and she was a fire making show away from winning the season. So I know she's down on that season, but it actually worked for her to work with other people that, are not like her, like honest integrity. Like I know she's working with Joe. She didn't really want to work with Joe, but their polar opposites actually really worked. It's like I think in this case, if she works like a coach, honorable, maybe outside of the Aussie challenge today, but coach, a honorable guy who's, handshake's gonna, I think that would be a great if a coach and Camilla were to link up, I think that'd be phenomenal for Camilla's game. If Camilla links up with the Tiffany and D trio, they're gonna get plucked off one by one.
Yeah, and I have the most faith of her out of those three
Out of the
women,
three.
only because
Yeah.
D already won, so it's kind of a possible challenge for her.
Like, yeah, no.
So, I just high in Camilla, so I want to see a little bit more out of her. What about Vatu?
Vatu, I mean, my stock up would have been Kyle, but unfortunately he's no longer here. That Colby, I can't keep coming back to Colby. Colby and
Until
Stephanie.
he
Sorry, Colby and
lost his
Stephanie.
vote, he was my obvious, even over Kyle, he was my
Yeah.
obvious stock up because of our perception of him heading
in.
into this game. We all said
he was
that Kyle
phenomenal.
was probably the best pound for pound player on the season, which is high praise from us. As far as like who can do the social stuff, the challenges, all of that, like pound for pound, he was probably one. Like he's gone. Colby lost Kyle, so
And
it
lost his
can't be
vote.
Colby now.
Yeah,
I
was gonna
would
Colby was
say,
phenomenal, but with him losing his ally and
Mike,
losing his
do you
vote.
know who it is? It's Aubrey. You want to know why?
Whoa!
Because this front that was against her, that was probably going to pick her off, is now so weakened because Q lost a vote, because Colby lost a vote, and Kyle just got evacuated.
Colby won
So
tribal.
who benefits from that the most? It's got to be Aubrey. So for me, she has to be the obvious stock up,
I get
just based off the circumstances.
Well, I get the case. My issue would be she still hasn't shown, at least in this episode, that she's integrated herself in any other,
No,
corner.
it doesn't matter though, because she was probably in their crosshairs and now she can at least try, and she has ammo to try now. And I think Kyle being out opens the door for her as far as like the other vibrant personality. She turns it on and off. Sometimes she can be a little bit cold. Sometimes she can be kind of like a mother, right? Like it's kind of either way for her. But I think her chameleon ways could work.
I'm going to take a different approach. I'm not going to go Aubrey. I actually think Kyle being out now heightens Aubrey's already big target. I think that she's a big target on this island. I think they will absolutely, I think we both agree, they're losing the next challenge. Unless Sari again kind of has a bad performance. They are now down Kyle, who's probably their best challenge.
I think Sari is that negligent that they could lose again.
I mean, look at this tribe right now. So to take out Kyle, you have Angelina, Aubrey, Colby, Genevieve, Q, Rizzo, and Stephanie. We've seen.
I say this: I don't hate the Colby, Q, Stephanie core three. I don't hate that. Stephanie proved a lot today. So did Colby. If they can keep doing that, now look, just like sports, these older players, they come out hot and they kind of deteriorate. Was that just a one episode thing? Is this going to last? Is Colby going to kind of like turn back the clock every challenge? I don't know. But if they're going to perform the way they did today, losing Kyle hurts, but it was kind of the others that showed up. It was Genevieve balling out on the puzzle out of nowhere that showed up. It was Q being walked all over that showed up and getting all those coconuts in the basket. Like, those are the others that showed up. It wasn't just Kyle. So they can do it, but it's going to really be dependent on Colby and Stephanie.
I'd almost go stock up on all these guys. Like, I really liked all of them in this episode. I'm going to go with Genevieve / Stephanie. I'm not going to go with, I think Genevieve and Stephanie both had good episodes. So I'm stock up on them just off of that. Now they did lose Kyle, but their true allegiance still is maybe with each other. And Stephanie still has Colby, who she has relationships with. I think Genevieve is doing a better job, at least right now, than Aubrey. As far
Mike,
as
I can't do it. She lost her one. I can't do it. She lost her number one ally.
But what she does have is, in the case that Ozzy kind of gets blindsided again, she has that idol come back to her.
That's too much of a what if. That's too much of a what if.
I liked her episode. I like take out the losing Kyle, which obviously hurts. Take out the boomerang idol. She has Stephanie appear to be in her back pocket, and she has, I think, Colby as well.
Mike,
so
can I admit something?
Better than Aubrey's situation.
I just want to tell you something straight up. It is the reason I can't do it. If the episode ended at 2 hours and 50 minutes, she'd be my winner pick for the rest of the season.
She had a really good episode. She needed Kyle though.
I think it was that detrimental. I think she needed Kyle.
Of
I think Kyle was a good shield. I think Kyle is great at the game. I think losing him dramatically deteriorates her ability to win.
But honestly, I think a lot of people in this Vatu tribe needed Kyle as their shield. Like, it wasn't just Genevieve who lost
Well,
Kyle.
that's why I went stock up with kind of one of the random players, because I think they benefited from Kyle going. And I don't think necessarily they're like the people that want her out don't have power. That idol that Genevieve had is useless right now. Colby does not have his vote. Kyle's vote is gone. It's gone with him. Q does not have his vote. If Aubrey can rope in a Rizzo, who's infatuated with Colby, but you never know. Rizzo.
That's why I can't go Aubrey. If I just got one scene of Aubrey approaching Rizzo and having some kind of, ground to stand on, I would have been pro Aubrey. But right now, it looks like Rizzo is Team Colby.
Mike, in a 7-person tribe, it's a 2-on-2.
Yeah.
It's a 2-on-2. Rizzo's probably the swing vote. So it's Rizzo. Does he kind of fall in line with his idol, or does he go a different way?
Yeah.
Or does he ride the pine? Does he ride the middle, kind of say, I voted this way one time, I got rid of, say, Q or Stephanie or something, but I still want to work with you. Could he do that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Stock down Genevieve. It has to be. And I love her.
Really?
And I thought, Mike, she had the best
We're going
episode for
opposite.
2 hours and 50 minutes outside of Coach and Kyle. She did.
Yeah, no, she was great. Here's the thing. This is funny because I'm actually gonna go stock down on Aubrey. So we're just swapping them. So it's the Genevieve versus Aubrey war, and who gets the votes? Who gets Rizzo and Angelina and Q? Whatever. I know Q doesn't have a vote, but the point is, like, it's gonna come down to, if they go to tribal council, 2 people without their votes. I know Colby's one of them. Q's a wild card, so his vote not really as impactful as Colby's in my opinion right now. It's all about Genevieve's relationship with Stephanie. And does that pull in a Rizzo and an Angelina? I think she right now can do it better than Aubrey can. I still think Aubrey's viewed as like the biggest threat on the island. Right, wrong, or indifferent. With Kyle out, that ain't getting any smaller. I can tell you that right now. Like, there's no target on Aubrey's back getting smaller. And to me, it feels like Aubrey, Genevieve are at odds. Everyone else, Colby, as great as the episode he has, he could still be a background character in terms of like the actual conversations going on at camp. So even with his vote, I mean, I like where his standing is in the game, but if it's Aubrey, Genevieve, I don't know. Would they pick off a Q? Just be like, we'll just get rid of Q, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't know, but I still don't love where Aubrey's at right now, because I didn't see any conversation for her in this entire 3-hour premiere, other than kind of a tense one with her and Genevieve, and that was like, oh no, I don't like this at all from Aubrey.
Once Angelina goes in Vatu, like if she were the first one to go, it feels like that's the heaviest weight of anyone to go, right? Because like we like Chrissy Hoffback, but if she goes, it's like Chrissy's gone. Like she was a great player, but it's not like this ripple effect that I think like if Aubrey goes has, if Colby goes it has, if Genevieve goes it has, even Q, because Q kind of joined with these people. So if he goes, that's a big deal, and he's like a physical beast. And I thought he was great today. I thought he was awesome. Like, yeah, I thought he had a really good episode. So I think that could be a really big thing to look out for. We're going to do this every week. And by the way, guys, the format of the show is probably going to change. We did a pure reaction today because it is the first episode. We're probably going to do more of like a show format going forward, like more questions based to, guide the conversation. We understand this was like a pure recap, but that's what we did all last season and it worked. But we might change it up for 50 to make it more engaging, because Mike, I think they want to hear our opinions a little bit more.
We just rambled for 2 hours after a 3-hour premiere.
That's what we ramble, but how much of our opinions do we really share? You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't even use all the bullets. I'm with you. There's so much in that 3-hour premiere we didn't even get to that it's like, oh,
right,
we'll get to it.
So I think we'll change the format a little bit, but this, however it looks, this will remain. We will keep stock up, stock down, and we will keep what I'm about to do, which I didn't even tell you. We're going to do the next person out. We did this a little bit last season. We do it like occasionally, but I think with such a big cast, I think it's only right to do it now. Give me 2. I know one's hard. Give me 2 that you think are like kind of DOA.
I think if Kalo was to lose, I think D is DOA. I don't foresee Kalo losing the next challenge, but you never know what it is. My second one would be, I got to look at Vatu. They just look like they're ripe for, possibly getting picked off here. I would probably go maybe a Aubrey. I'm gonna stick with the Aubrey thing. Sorry, Aubrey, to kick you while you're down. I have no idea. Vatu is the most confusing. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna go to Vatu. Let me take back Aubrey. I'm gonna go if Kalo loses D, if Sela loses, I'm gonna go curveball Savannah.
I'm going Cherie as my one. I think she is in a terrible place, and I hate it. I'm just more realistic than you.
She'll get back.
As a Cherie apologist, I love Cherie. This one might be a little bit too
She'll
much to
scratch.
climb.
She'll scratch and claw. She's gonna work from the bottom.
Yeah, she'll do her best, but I'm not seeing it. So Cherie's my one, and I think of the Vatu core people, Colby, of Q,
No
of
votes. For those ones.
Stephanie, all these like lack of votes. If one of them's gonna get picked off, I think it's Steph again. I think you need Q.
That's who they would
Like I
draft.
think they know they need Colby and Q. You can't like if you don't have Q and you just lost Kyle, who the hell is doing all the physical stuff? Like it's gonna be Colby and Rizzo? Like good luck.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I think Q is too valuable right now. I think Colby's too valuable right now. If you're going to take a shot at that infrastructure, I think it's Stephanie. So I have the two OG women who have done battle numerous times, Cherie and Stephanie, in the crosshairs. New era, I'll throw out D as well.
Well, that's the thing with Vatu. Them losing Kyle, it actually helps Colby and Q because you really can't lose another guy.
Yes,
You
100%.
kind of have to go for one of the girls on Vatu at that point, just for challenge sake. And it's not that if it's physical, you can't cut a Colby or a Q. You know, at this point, you already lost Kyle, who's like your best player.
And if they do, it's incredibly stupid.
Pretty risky. You're gonna hope for a tri-swap event.
Yeah, and I think they're all aware enough to know that. So I think there could be a Stephanie pushback. And if you're Rizzo, could get on board with that. Like, you know.
If there is a guy that would be out, I would think Rizzo maybe if he stinks up a challenge and has a Suri, maybe he doesn't have the Suri backing. But if he was to lose them a challenge per se on a puzzle, which we know he's not good at, if he was to lose them a challenge, I wouldn't be shocked if they said, "Well, we have Colby and Q. We like Stephanie as far as one of our better women physically. Maybe we do Rizzo. I don't know.
Can I tell you a secret?
Batu's so hard to predict.
I think they think Rizzo's on the season because he's a fun, nice kid. I don't think they know he has the game sense he has. I really don't.
I don't think this tribe does. I think
if you listen to the commentary about him from this tribe, it seems like, oh, he's like this fun 25-year-old. No one seems to really take him seriously, which I think bodes well in his favor.
For this tribe, but I mean, I've seen Christian kind of nail his exact thing to a T. I've seen Coach, I've seen Mike White. They kind of exactly nail what Rizzo is and why he's in the season. I think those guys would be like, guys, Rizzo is, you know, and I think Savannah's telling them these things. So maybe this tribe doesn't, at least early on, but this tribe has so many schemers like Genevieve and Aubrey. They'll be able to kind of eventually figure out, you know, he's probably here for a reason. Like he's not.
Maybe, but he's got to make inroads. If he can make merge and Savannah's still around somehow, and, you know, he already has this thing going, you link up Savannah with Colby, who knows? Who freaking knows?
I thought him and Colby had a good, you know.
I liked their comeback around. I don't even know if we mentioned that. There was so much we didn't mention, which is why this format will be changing so we can get more of our own thoughts in here. But we're at 2 hours here, which we kind of told each other we wouldn't do, but it was not feasible. There's too much to get through. So this will probably be the last like mega long one. I would expect the rest of the season, even though they're longer episodes, we'll probably keep it to like an hour 20, guys. Because we've read the comments. I've heard the complaints, so I get it. But anyway, if you're still around at this point, 2 hours in, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check the time. It is 1:32 a.m. Eastern here, a few days after a blizzard. I hope everyone has their power back and is warm on the East Coast. The West Coast is probably just wrapping up right now, so I hope they're enjoying everything as well. We might be back in a few days with like another Survivor 50 premiere video because it feels like there's a market for that.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll try to rope Theo in. And by the way, throughout these post shows, Theo is off doing college basketball stuff. We might have some guests. I have some stuff in the works, some other Survivor creators, which would bode well for, again, more of like a talk show sort of format. So, yeah, be prepared for all of that. Anyway, on behalf of Mike Testa, I'm Xavier Aguiar. We are the Gurus, and we will see you next time. Peace.